Some guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
to talk you through all this. Two, hello. Check. Happy birthday, Lodane. Happy birthday, Lodane. It's Lodane's birthday, everyone. The Lodane. Lodane's birthday. I hope the stream was good, Lodane, and I hope your birthday is good. Thank you. Thank you to Sean as well for the 24-month resub at tier 1 from Sean. Congratulations to you for the highly elite, highly exclusive TRRS 2-year sub badge. Although, because of people in this community, their dogged insistence on referring to it incorrectly, falsely, as the piss badge, your text-to-speeches are not being read. So congratulations to you all. Congratulations to you all. For your little game, your little joke.
You can count on me. You're
it's
gonna have
very
good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Soon I discovered that this rib thing was true. Jerry Lee Lewis was the devil. Jesus an architect previous to his career as a prophet. All of a sudden, I found myself in love with the world. So the only thing that I could do was rob a lob my lob a rob.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
That badge is so close I can taste it. Wait, what is this flavor? Oh God. Oh no.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Rob. Parallel punky.
Yes, very good. Very good. Got a little too wild with that bite. I wanted to fit it in while the text-to-speech was going.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
He's doing it. He's eating.
This is why Twitch rewards this program. This is why the almighty Twitch algorithm looks kindly on this program, because this is the kind of content that you're not going to get anywhere else. You're not going to get this kind of content anywhere else on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook Live, YouTube, Vine, Bebo, MySpace, Friendster, High Five, OnlyFans. You cannot get this content anywhere else. Yeah, that's the thing. No, there's a reason for that. Yeah, exactly. No, I was just getting ready to start, and it's like, oh shit, I see there's actual viewers. I see there's actually viewers here now, so now I got to make sure I jump on there. I wasn't quite ready. But I wanted to take advantage of this. Thank you, Lennon Smesh, for the 3-month resub at tier 1. For that comment. Thank you, Moss, for the 23 months resub at tier 1. So tantalizingly, achingly, painfully close.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
To the highly elite, highly exclusive 24-month TRRS golden sub badge. ICQ, you can't get this content on ICQ either. Believe you me. If you saw this content on ICQ, you'd say, uh-oh. Thank you also to John McCain's Ghost for the 22 months resub at tier 2. Thanks for everything you do for the community, John. Thank you, Doc Hollywood, for the 16 months resub at tier 2. Thank you, Doc. Thank you also to Rylan, the 20 months tier 1. Thank you, Rylan. Hello, everybody. Hello and welcome. Hello to all our wonderful lurkers as well. Our wonderful lurkers and new viewers as well. I'm Rob. This is TRRS. TRRS airs every single day on Twitch, Monday through Friday. It's starting at usually 12 p.m. Eastern, obviously a little behind here. 12 p.m. Eastern and 1 a.m. Pyongyang time. That's when the show airs. I'm Rob. I am a socialist Twitch streamer here in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And I like to talk on Twitch about snacks, sandwiches, apples, beverages, different kinds of fruit, sports, pop culture, and also the news, politics. We try to debunk the relentless Western propaganda that we're all inundated with if you live in this society. Sometimes you think growing up in this society that you're immune to propaganda or we don't have propaganda. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is in fact not correct, and that we do indeed are we are actually the most heavily propagandized culture in the entire world. And right here on Twitch, every single day, I try to chip away at that. I take my ideological pickaxe and I just chip away at that programming. That's what I do. I'm just trying out that combination of words now for the first time. My little Stalinist ice pick. Speaking of, couple things just came in the mail. Just so I can alienate everybody, all these new viewers, just so I can alienate everybody. Just came in the mail. This book by Domenico Losordo, Stalin, The History and Critique of a Black Legend. Just got in the mail. Looking forward to diving into that. And you know what else I have, folks? I got new merch. I got new merch right now. It just got here in the mail. It just got here in the mail. I'll tell you who the publisher is.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
We basically nuked a town with chemicals so we could get a railroad open, said Sil Caggiano, a hazardous materials specialist.
That's absolutely right. And thank you, Dimitri. Thank you for the 200 friend coin. We're going to take a look at the toxic chemical cloud and the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. We're going to take a long look at that today.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you very much, Carmen Social Distancing, as well, for the 2 gifted subs. Very kind of you. And again, folks, this will just be a small plea to some of the regular viewers. We got a bunch of new lurkers, new viewers. If you ever want to gift subs to this channel or rock it up to the elite tier of the Friendship Triangle system, that's Twitch's only triangle-shaped, 2-dimensional, trickle-down clout and friendship access tiered reward system, now is a great time to do it because it gives an opportunity to pull in some new community members, some new viewers. Or don't, that's fine. Anyways, I kind of jumped on here quickly because I saw that I had viewers. So, a lot going on today. You come for the clout and stay for the friendship. That's right. And for anyone that's watching out there,
you can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
For anyone that's watching out there, if you feel alienated, isolated, by this kind of like collapsing empire and this kind of late stage capitalism as it's transitioning into this even darker form. Sometimes we say late stage capitalism and that makes us think that something better is coming, but I don't know if I agree with that. It's transitioning into an even darker form. If you're alienated and isolated and you need community, you need friendship, that's what you do, is to sign up to this program, this community.
Good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Subscribe to this community. Get involved in the absolute best community on this platform, either here or on Discord, which you should also join. And also, when you do join the community and you do become part of Twitch's only 2-dimensional triangle-shaped friendship access and trickle-down cloud tiered reward system, we personally become friends, you and I. And that's not just a catchphrase. It's not parasocial. It's not a parasocial friendship. It's real. It's a real friendship. Thank you, Sean, for the gifted sub as well. And thank you, Dimitri, for the gifted sub. So, best in the game when it comes to the merch. So should we check this out now? What do you think? What do you think? Should we check this out now? Lodane, happy birthday. Happy birthday, and thank you for the raid before. I hope your stream was good before. You can't put a price on that, folks. You can't. Should we do some ASMR TRRS merch unwrapping? What do we think about that? I've been very excited about this. I've been very, very excited. Imagine being scared of a book with Stalin on the cover and turning off a Twitch stream. I actually think that is what happened. Unfortunately, I think that is what happened. But you know, you gotta be honest with people about what you're gonna be talking about here. So here we go. This is very exciting. Oh man, this looks fantastic. Oh my goodness. So I got 3 here. These are just all different variations of the new merch design that just dropped in the TRRS merch store, okay? I'm going to show them all to you. These look so fucking cool. These look unbelievably cool. Here's the one. Here's the red one. Crisp. Extremely crisp. Here's the white one. Check this shit out. The print quality is not bad on these shirts, but you do have to watch out. Like, try to avoid the high heat. Wash them in lower heat, lower temperatures, and often turn them inside out as well. Check it out. Here's the big one though. Here's the hoodie, the black hoodie. I've been in the market for a black hoodie for a while, and I'm happy that this could be it. And it looks so cool. Look at this. Just one sec. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What do we think? What do we think? It is, maybe it's a little bit weird contrast on camera, I'm realizing. You don't see the writing? The black hoodie guy has logged on. I'm going to try one of the shirts though. I'm going to try one of the shirts. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. in retrospect, maybe just logging right on and when I had like 600 viewers and immediately showing my new Listordo Stalin book, which I was excited about. I was excited to show it to you. I was excited to share it with the community. Maybe though, when you're getting featured by Twitch, maybe I gotta, in the future, maybe just pump the brakes a little bit harder on those and ease people in a little bit more. That's on me. That's on me. You know, I gotta do better. I gotta do better with easing folks into that maybe a little bit more. Okay, live and learn. Live and learn. We still got some viewers. That's good. I mean, like I said, you might as well just like be upfront with people. The Twitch intern that put Raw with the front page is not getting a full-time position. I just got to ease him in next time. Oh well.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Thank you, Dimitri. Sometimes just the way I'm sitting, it's like the sleeves don't. Am I just not centered? You know, it's like one sleeve looks longer than the other one. I don't know why. Physically, I don't know why that is. They can go to DGG where they belong. There we go. I mean, that's it. You might as well just draw a line in the sand. Across this line, you do not. I'll start with some light food chit-chat before easing into the Stalin discourse. Is what I didn't do today. That's what I did not do today. I'm sorry, this is so cool. The writing at the bottom is a little bit harder to decipher on this. I wasn't even trying to pivot Stalin discourse. I was just showing you what book came in. I just ordered a new book. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me for sharing that with you. I just wanted to share my new book that I was excited about. I'm sorry for promoting reading. I'm sorry for promoting reading here on twitch.tv. The TRRS literacy program. Some Hoja bunker talk would have been a better lead-in. I need that shirt for trips into northern Idaho. I think this shirt is genuinely subversive, you know? That's why I like it. That's why I think it's representative of this community. It is history and critique of a black legend. It's not like history and just this guy was just uncritically good, the book. That's not what it is. Critique is right there in the title. It's right there in the title. Pardonnez-moi. I got a Dagwood sandwich here. Stalin apologia towards a review of a fun guy. This is GMO Radio's wife. It's his birthday today. Oh, my goodness. Our friend GMO Radio. It's both Lodane's birthday and GMO Radio's birthday. That's wonderful. Okay. Wow, what a start to the program. What an exciting start to the program. We've had a lot of ups and downs already. Oh, that hits the spot. I'm very thirsty. What beverages are we working on right now, folks? Post your beverage in the chat. I got a pineapple bubbly here. It's very refreshing. White Monster energy drink. You'll be happy to know that I watched the film Casablanca for the first time to better educate my movie watch list. That's actually very good, Marty. That's a classic film that I have not seen. Vintage seltzer, room temp. We got coffee, water, a lot of water. Black coffee, nice. That's way too intense for me. That's way too hard-boiled for me, but I hope you're enjoying it. Some iron brew. We've got some iron brew as well. Second cup of black tea. Just had a passion fruit curd-filled donut with it. That's nice. Chai latte. Chemical-infused water. Very nice. My B-Day was Friday. I don't know if we said happy birthday Friday, but in that case, happy belated birthday to our friend Fart Party 69. Happy birthday to our friend Fart Party 69, a valued community member. I gotta say, I'm really regretting showing the Stalin book. I'm trying to play that off. I'm trying to play that off as being funny, but it's like, probably not my finest moment as a streamer.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Toilet bowl toots. Thank you for the 19 months of tier 1. Thank you. Thank you for that. To our friend Toilet Bowl Toots. I watched Citizen Kane. He's getting Citizen Kane confused with Casablanca, which I have seen. Maybe if I'm just super wholesome for the rest of the stream, we'll get smiled upon again. We'll get smiled upon again by the benevolent Twitch algorithm. I'm just gonna be a super wholesome guy from now on. Been reading about it here. You heard about this character? Anyway. Much to discuss. Much to discuss today, folks. Much to discuss. What is there? This town was actually quite controversial. Apparently. Jeez. Anyway, the big game was last night. Anyone watch the big game? I was like totally emotionally not invested in it, but I do watch the Super Bowl every year. I just really enjoy the snacks. Mostly I enjoy making the nice snacks and having a beer. I'm not a big drinker, but I enjoy having the beer and watching the game. Eating chicken wings, etc. Very enjoyable. The commercials were all cameos. Curious lack of crypto commercials. Remember last year? Last year was like 85% crypto commercials. Weirdly, not as many of those this year. I wonder why that is. Yeah, it's just nonstop nostalgia, though. Like, I don't remember Super Bowl commercials when I was growing up. Like, in the 90s, for example, watching the Super Bowl. I don't remember the ads being like, do you remember this thing from the 70s? You know? Every single ad. Hey, remember this movie from the 70s? Here's that guy. Here's that guy from that 70s movie. It's like Burt Reynolds or someone playing one of his characters from like the 70s or early 80s. You know, I don't remember the Super Bowl commercials being like that. I remember like the Budweiser frogs and stuff. Yeah, and Terry Tate office linebacker was very good as well. But now it's just all nostalgia. Now it's all like, remember this show? Remember this sitcom? Remember Clueless? Remember the film Clueless? Well, here's Clueless. Here she is. She's in the same outfit. The Catholic Church, we've made a few changes. There was the Jesus commercial. I did see that as well. Everyone has implicitly agreed that there's no future. That's what it is. It wasn't there. There was a Clueless ad. Yeah. There was. They can't market to young people because we're broke. That's part of it too. Yeah. That is part of it too. There's no future and there's no present either. There's only the past. Interesting too that all the nostalgia is from the 90s. It's all 90s nostalgia too because that's the end of history. We're all just like repackaging this feeling that we had. Remember when he was like, we had won? Remember? We had won and there was no more bad guys and our way of life had triumphed over everything, and all it was just stretching into this glorious neoliberal future. You know? And now that's what our nostalgia is. It's trying to recapture that moment. You know, in The Matrix? That's why The Matrix is set in 1997, which is amazing because it came out before the collapse even began, really. But they correctly identified that this was like basically the peak of Western civilization. How about the Flash trailer? How are they still doing that with the Ezra Miller shit? Yeah, I mean, I guess they've hinged so much on this movie because it has to reset the whole universe that they just can't do anything about it. And it's funny, they leaned more on Michael Keaton than they did Ezra Miller. Which is interesting. I rewatched the first Michael Keaton Batman film like 2 weeks ago, and it's just so great. It's so fucking great. At the same time, though, do I want to see Michael Keaton? And then he's doing this big like video game, like it looks like a video game. So it's like it takes that nostalgia of seeing Michael Keaton in the suit and everything, and then all of a sudden he's flying through the air and like doing all these flips and stuff like that, and immediately not looking anything like what the film looked like. Oh, it totally still holds up. Especially Jack Nicholson is just the fucking man in that movie. We were talking about it on the balloon day. How Jack Nicholson could have just cashed a paycheck on that and absolutely just brought it so much. Love that Michael Keaton Batman movie. I don't know if I won't go see The Flash in the theater. It's definitely cool as someone that again grew up in that time, grew up in the 90s. It's definitely very cool to see Keaton again play the character. Yeah, he couldn't move in the original. He couldn't even turn his head. Which they didn't address till The Dark Knight. It was actually a plot point in The Dark Knight. Returns is really good too. No, both of the Burton Keaton Batman movies are excellent. Isn't the nostalgia thing like a 30-year cycle? I swear, I feel like the last ticket it was a bunch of 80s references. Well, we're not out of the 80s bubbles yet though either. Like this, still the 80s aesthetic is everywhere. And I don't think we're ever going to get nostalgia for like the 2010s. You know, maybe we will, like in 10 or 15 years from now, 2010s nostalgia. But I really think it's specifically for a reason that it's kind of trapped. It's trapped in that end of history period. When we had a future. When we had disposable income. When our lives were supposed to be better than our parents' lives. We were supposed to work less and make more and be able to go on vacation more and, you know, all that stuff that never ended up happening. I already have nostalgia for Le Epic Bacon. Jesus. Jesus. So anyway, it is kind of cool to see Keaton in the suit and everything. If we haven't seen the full trailer, we can watch it now. We can watch it now. Shit. Where are you going? Where are you going, chat? Where are you going over there? Oh, you know what a good title for this segment is? Like the 80s reference. Put the 80s reference right in there. Let's see here. See, Twitch, this is wholesome. This is wholesome. We're just watching movie trailers and talking about them. Nothing weird going on here, Twitch. There's nothing weird or freaky or subversive going on here. Shit. It's totally normal. This is a totally normal stream. And I'm a totally normal guy. Wholesome. They did show trailers during the game, but I think they only showed a short version during the game. Here's the full version.
Tell me something.
I don't know what that emote is, actually.
Another timeline. Another universe. So why do you want to stay and fight to save this one? Because this is the world where my mom lives. I'm not gonna lose her again.
Time has a pattern that it can't help reliving. Different people, different worlds.
More multiverses, Sean. More multiverses and time nonsense.
It's my face. You stole my face.
If you were to go into the past, you have no idea what the consequences can be.
Bruce, I could fix things.
You could also destroy everything.
This can't be happening. I completely broke the universe.
Zod,
We've been waiting for you.
I created a world with no metahumans. And now there's no one to defend us.
Want some help?
Oh. You are?
Yeah. I'm Batman.
See, and then you know what I mean? If you're gonna lean on that aesthetic, maybe you should make some effort to like look like the original films, you know? Or to have the aesthetic of the film, but no, it just gets brought right into that kind of CGI modern world, modern aesthetic. And 4 different drops so far, yeah. He flies now. Goku is there, Superman, Mr. Rogers, and Sonic, and Chuck Norris. Yeah. The reason people are doing 80s revival is because there's a big Gen X audience for it to cash in on. Because the 80s were the era of the sci-fi dystopia, we have an easier time imagining the end of the world than the end of capitalism. I'm Batman. I need to watch the cartoons punch each other. I get it.
If I can't undo what I did, if I can't get back, there might not be a future. What's the play? Batman, what do we do?
We try not to die.
It's not Clark.
My name is Kara.
I'm Barry. We're Barry. Barry, what are you doing? Our kids are gonna want to see this.
I don't know. We have to go back. Return to Batman. This is what they took from you. This is what they took from you. And that's the thing. It's like, I'm susceptible to this. Like I said, I rewatched that Michael Keaton Batman the other day, and it's fantastic. I loved it. It does. It's a testament to how much that they're like freaked out by this movie, though, that they lean so much on that. They have to lean more on Michael Keaton than actually Ezra Miller, considering Ezra Miller's bizarre, like, criminal rampage, I guess. Could you describe it as that? I don't know. They got rid of Cavill for this. Well, and I don't, because I know James Gunn is talking about a new Supergirl movie, and I don't know if it's going to be this Supergirl. Like, my understanding is that this movie just resets the whole timeline that allows James Gunn to come in and just kind of like start from scratch. So I don't know if that's going to be the version of Supergirl that we see in the James Gunn Supergirl movie. Who among us hasn't done a little light kidnapping? We've all been there. We've all been there. The actual every media property is just this. Ultimate Showdown of Destiny.
Godzilla was hopping around Tokyo City like a big playground when suddenly Batman burst from the shade and hit Godzilla with a bat grenade. Godzilla got pissed and began to attack, but didn't expect to be blocked by Shaq, who proceeded to open up a can of Shaq Fu when Aaron Carter came out of the blue and he started beating up Shaquille O'Neal. Then they both got flattened by the Batmobile, but before we could make it back to the Batcave, Abraham
Shit.
Lincoln popped out of his grave and took an AK-47 out from under his hat, blew Batman away with a rat-a-tat-tat, but he ran out of bullets and he ran away. away, because Optimus Prime came to save the day.
Big blue laser beam in the sky and save the world, but also not only do you have to have the blue laser beam in the sky, but you have to have the good guy shooting the blue laser at the bad guy shooting the red laser, and then the two lasers come together and then go. That has to happen as well at some point.
This is the ultimate showdown of ultimate destiny. Good guys, bad guys, and explosions. As far as the eye can see, and only one will survive. I wonder who it will be. This is the ultimate showdown.
No, I was going to do that next, Jay.
Ultimate destiny.
I was going to do that next. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Godzilla took a bite out of Optimus Prime, like Scruff McGruff took a bite out of crime, and then Shaq came back covered in a tire track, but Jackie Chan jumped out and landed on his back, and Batman was injured and trying to get steady when Abraham Lincoln came back with a machete, but suddenly something caught his leg and he tripped. Indiana Jones took him out with his whip, then he saw Godzilla sneaking up from behind, and he reached for his gun, which he just couldn't find, cause Batman stole it and he shot and he missed, and Jackie Chan deflected it with his fist, then he jumped in the air and he did a somersault while Abraham Lincoln tried to pull vault onto Optimus Prime, but they collided in the air, then they both got hit by a Care Bear stare.
It's true. Every movie is this. Every movie is this, or it's like Jay was just saying, it's this.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Who's this? Dimitri, thank you for the 200 friend coin. the Godzilla soundtrack. I'm gonna get muted. This is every movie now. Can I do the shorter one? This is way too long.
I now realize that I was wrong, and it's time that we purge the books of many of our town's outdated and obscure laws. The bill that I have written with the full support of the City Council will repeal 110 obsolete laws, such as all menstruating women shall be confined to their bathtubs, and Article 2, aka Ted Party Day. The floor is now open for public comments. Well, here we go.
Thank you. My name is Garth Blunden.
London. Look, the laws I am trying to get rid of have no more relevance in modern society, and they're embarrassing to Pawnee.
It goes on way longer than this. I don't know. I don't know if we need to see the whole version of it. It goes on way longer than this. Where he's linking the Star Wars and the MCU with the Star Wars films. Like, now there's people that unironically want that. No, yeah, the extended cut. What's more important, this or balloons? Well, we got a lot of balloons. We got a lot of balloons to deal with. Twitch, come on, I won't show the book again, all right? I won't show it again. Okay? I'm sorry. All right? I'm sorry. I won't show it again. They're doing a briefing now talking about how the objects pose a threat to the aircraft. Okay, maybe we can just tune into that. We just do the damn news. Got a taste of the global north's freedom of speech. No news, more Funko Pop. Yeah. God damn it. Where's this? We got a link to this press conference. Have you got a link to the press conference? That's enough pop culture stuff. The game was fine. Kind of unfortunate that the game ended on such like a controversial call. I don't know if it would have changed the outcome, but kind of annoying that the Eagles didn't even get a chance to have a last drive because of this like kind of controversial pass interference call that seemed like a weird call to make in the dying moments of a Super Bowl game. Player said he held him. No. Well, he was getting, because there was like an NFL guy. There's the red dot on his chest. There was like an NFL spokesperson right outside the shot. Yeah, the NFL script. The Eagles players, when they got the script for that last minute, were just like, oh, God damn it. Must have been very frustrating to get the script for that last game. And like, well, this game's pretty good. High scoring affair. Knotted up right to the end. Get to the last page of the script. Oh, man. Come on. Come on. I will say this though. It's obviously we saw more news of this, like various objects being shot down over the weekend. Imagine being Aaron Hernandez and getting your script in 2013. Just like, Jesus, I didn't sign up for this. I know. It's fun to speculate on the alien stuff, but like, is it aliens? Is it aliens and flying saucers and UFOs? Or have now we just committed to shooting down every single balloon or random fucking science experiment now, and we can never back down from that without looking weak? Is it that? I think it's more of that, isn't it? Now we just have to. Now that we've set the precedent, now no one can ever not shoot down whatever random floating object you got in the sky. Because now it's this big threat. Now we've made it out to be this big threat, so we have to. I'm convinced that whenever aliens are in the news, it's cover for some horrible thing the government's doing. Yeah, I mean, whether you want to talk about the East Palestine chemical cloud or whatever, or covering up their own, military research, R&D, whatever it is. Shooting down the first balloons or assassination of Franz Ferdinand moment. Well, it still may cause World War III. There's still that possibility. I think that's the more likely scenario. I don't think aliens, because to get any kind of craft here from even the closest star would require technology that's so far advanced above anything we can possibly imagine. There's no alien that's going to come here and get shot down with one of our puny little missiles. When the aliens that are here are watching this stuff play out and just laughing their asses off, they're just like, these dumb motherfuckers, the aliens that are here, the ones that are in control of the government and the media and stuff like that, who made deals with the United States government to give them a bunch of technology in the post-war period in exchange for, cow parts and stuff. If they can get to Earth, we're not seeing them, or just seeing them on our radar, being like, hey, look at that, a flying saucer. That's just not happening. Let's be real here. Anyway, let's hear this nonsense.
This year and previous years, these unidentified objects that we shoot down, they might have a question. When it comes to these higher altitudes, are America's borders secure?
The president takes, as I said earlier, he takes our national security extremely seriously. He has no higher responsibility than the safety and security of the American people. And I don't think you need to look any further, quite frankly, than the decisions he's made in just the last week to 10 days to evidence that.
But it feels like he's plugging holes. Like these are vulnerabilities that we are discovering in real time.
You're making an assumption there that I don't know that the analysis will actually bear out.
It seems more likely that they've just expanded the scope of the things that they're looking for. Now that they know that people are going to get mad at them for letting balloons fly across the sky, they've just expanded the scope of like objects that they can look at now. And now they've set this precedent where they just have to shoot everything down now.
He was here in the White House. He was kept constantly informed.
That's politics.
By his national security team and certainly by the military. He made that decision.
I bet aliens came, landed in the U.S., took one look around and said, no, I don't think so.
I believe mid to late morning, and then it was executed.
We want nothing to do with this.
Were there contingencies in place in case there was a reaction from a foreign government in reaction to shooting that object down? Was the president anticipating the one yesterday? Yeah.
Well, it was shot over. I mean, it was shot over Lake Huron and landed in what we believe to be the Canadian side of the lake. So we were obviously in constant communication and consultation with our Canadian counterparts, and they are rightly, because of where we think it splashed down. I mean, they're sort of in concert with the U.S. Coast Guard.
This guy does look like the government PR person from a movie, though. Absolutely. That's why I think we're seeing the kind of speculation, because there were moments, even though I don't believe any of this bullshit, there were moments over the weekend especially that did seem like the opening scene of like one of these alien invasion movies. Like I was getting that vibe from some of the stories that were coming out. The airspace closed down, the weird kind of panicked comments from the Canadian Minister of Defense. I understand why the speculation happens, but like it's not aliens.
Can you specify what exactly?
If it was, I hope they invade.
That they're not getting from
we would deserve it.
Satellites that go over us like dozens of
with the caveat that we haven't fully recovered everything, though we have recovered some things from the bottom of the
alien weather balloons. We're going to be centrists on this.
And we're analyzing that. But with that caveat that we don't know exactly what this balloon was surveilling or what its capabilities were. So just in general, and that is an important caveat that I'd like you to remember. When you are at a lower altitude than space, you could perhaps get a better fidelity of imagery, for instance, of things on the ground. When you are not moving at the speed of a satellite, and therefore, only getting seconds over a site, when you can maneuver left, right, slow down, speed up, like this thing could.
I'm so thirsty.
If you can
very
loiter,
thirsty.
You can soak in a little bit more. You can spend more time over a sensitive site.
Well, that's what I mean, lol, whatever, dog. It's like there's no for any kind of alien craft to come to Earth would require technology, like I was saying before, that is so far advanced beyond anything we can even possibly understand. They're not just going to send some weird floating cylinder into our atmosphere to get blown up. If they are, it's just intentionally to fuck with us, which, again, we deserve.
Did the China balloon, did that have any, was it emitting signals back?
I'm not going to go into more detail about...
One thing is for certain, there is no stopping them. The ants will soon be here. And I, for one, welcome our new insect overlords. I'd like to remind them that as a trusted Twitch personality, I can be helpful in rounding up others to toil in their underground sugar caves.
To the kinds of companies that produce weather balloons or other
I should make like a thing with this as hail ants.
craft that would fit these descriptions that might be from the commercial or corporate world to say, is this yours, or any kind of outreach, or have you been hearing from anyone who might say, we have ours, they're in this area. Is any of that going on now?
I don't know of any conversations right now, Kelly, but one of the reasons why the president directed Mr. Sullivan to put together an interagency effort is to take a long look at that and try to learn a little bit better about who is up at that altitude doing what for completely legitimate purposes. I think we all recognize we need to probably have a better sight picture on that, and that's why the president wants this interagency effort to take a look.
And what kind of
on the plus side of XQC's Zoomer chat is any indication they are capping hard. Well, I don't doubt that they are capping, indeed.
I'm not sure sure I understand what you mean.
Is there a
In fact, just the amount of time that we're spending on this kind of coverage and press conferences is indicative enough that it's not aliens, right? If it was aliens, they would not be talking about this. They would not be having press conferences. The news would not be mentioning this. You know, none of this would be going on. They're here to help combat woke censorship. They see humanity being infected with the woke mind virus.
Director Haynes.
The very same woke mind virus that decimated the alien civilization. They've come to warn us. They've come to us with a warning of the dangers of the woke mind virus.
Yeah, again, we're going to have those kinds of conversations with our allies and partners to see what kind of experiences that they have had.
Can we watch the BT News balloon video, or do we have other content to cover? I want to try to get to that today, John. There's a couple things that I wanted to look at, but
I won't mess that up today.
On the corporate angle, is there any expectation that this is
I want to try to get to that as well, yeah.
on surveilling U.S. companies and what they're doing in China and their
I know of no
operations
such
there?
change to that.
It's actually, okay, this makes sense, Jay. This makes sense. It's actually humans from the
You said a
future
moment ago that there's no knowledge
whose
of
society was ruined
US
by the woke
companies
mind
or
virus. That's right. It's like Terminator, kind of.
just being cognizant of the
It's
fact
the
that
future
China
where everything is just everything is a gender.
States. Is there any U.S. surveillance aircraft over Taiwan, over the South China Sea?
Everyone has been brainwashed with the gender ideology,
Aircraft over Chinese.
and they send a lone probe back in time to try and prevent it.
No U.S. surveillance aircraft in Chinese airspace.
Okay, and then just finally, is there any new formal approach that's
There's too many
being
pronouns
as
now.
far as how you're going to deal with these things on a systematic basis going forward? Is there a
Well,
review?
again, that's exactly what the president wants Mr. Sullivan to run as a process, an interagency process, to help us, as I said in my opening statement, get around the
It's me. I'm balloon gender. See, it's already come for Fart Party 69. If the woke mind virus gets Fart Party 69, it could get any one of us.
There's no precedent for U.S. fighters taking down objects over...
Imagine they got here and they're just more Trotskyists. Oh, God, that'd be so disappointing.
You talked about the tweak in the radar systems.
Yeah.
Has there been a tweak in the threshold for the Pentagon presenting to the President signing off on military action related to anything over our airspace?
I'm not sure I'm following.
From the dark dystopian future where vaccines wiped out humanity, they've come to send back a warning.
Has the threshold for the use of fighters to take down objects also been tweaked? Has it been lowered? Has it been changed? We've never seen this before. All of a sudden, we've seen three
Actually,
days.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand it at first. No,
That suggests a planet full of trots managed interstellar travel. Well, it suggests as well that trots eventually led a successful revolution.
Engage.
Don't have to worry about that happening.
Aircraft in the air, that can be legitimate.
Truly a fantastical science fiction tale.
The best way to do that, certainly in a timely and efficient, effective way.
They worked within the system
aircraft and through the Sidewinder
to reform it.
And they looked at, and he talked about this, they looked at other options to try to bring them down, to include gunfire, but that would have presented a greater risk to the pilots themselves. So this was the safest, most effective way to do that. Now, where we go from here, I think we just don't know right now.
It is funny how this aliens thing historically happens during when the U.S. is chalking up new aggressions. It is kind of odd, isn't it?
Here and remember what the president did was ordered these actions with the
Excuse me, this is all just going to
foremost
end in like
and there were
a couple more $1 billion funding for the Space Force.
The military then.
This is all Space Force. They're planting the seeds for the.
General Van Herk decided that the best way to do this was.
I know we get the $800 billion annual military budget, but we're going to need a couple hundred extra billion each year for that Space Force, though, because of the aliens, the alien threat.
And so we are going to act quickly to take down any.
History books are going to write about how the U.S. empire finally fell chasing balloon aliens.
These were decisions.
I would, like I was saying the other day, it's like. If things have to kind of go down this dark path, I would like the balloon to be like an inciting incident to that. Just for pure comedy purposes, for like future generations to smile about. It's not going to be good for any of us, but I genuinely think at least that would be the funniest outcome, if the balloon could be some pivotal turning point.
Obviously,
inflection point in human history. I would just enjoy that, the poetic justice of it.
we are gleaning what we can from this.
Yeah, they're going to do Reagan
so
Star
we
Wars
can
too,
answer
and the
your question.
LaRouche are popular again. History repeats itself
To what
again.
degree there is or will will or will not be public release? I do want to stress that we're going to want to make sure that we.
Yeah, definitely not aliens. They've been more transparent about this than the Ohio ecological nightmare. This is what I'm saying. If it was aliens, none of this would be getting talked about at all.
What we're trying to discern is, you said earlier, we're looking for these more, so we're finding more. And
I said that could be one reason why we're finding more.
One reason, but what we're getting at is, why are we all of a sudden shooting them down? And to add to that,
Good question.
The NORAD commander, for instance, said that when the first spy balloon was crossing over American and Canadian airspace, one of the reasons that he couldn't take action was because his assessment was that it didn't pose a military threat or have hostile intent, and so he couldn't take action there.
I wish it was aliens, but it's not, though.
That protocol has changed, or his ability to make that call where there is not an imminent threat militarily or physically might have changed. So
Where were you when the balloons were brought down? Is this generation's JFK assassination? It would be good.
I kind of feel like
It'd be good. Remember if there was the rash of like patriotic country songs in the wake of 9/11? That would be good. Where were you when the balloon was shot down? Was a windy day when I saw a spy balloon flying. Chinese spy balloon coming for us. Shot it down with a missile. Put a boot in your balloon. It's like, one of those. I'd like to hear some of those. Some patriotic anti-balloon songs.
To learn from it, to collect on it.
And then I heard an eagle cry.
And we have retrieved some of that debris off the bottom, and we're studying that. Hang on a second, I'll be right there. But so let's separate that from these other things.
Who but aliens could come up with technology as complex and futuristic as balloons? Well, look, if something works, it works forever.
Just let me get through this, and then.
It works. Why try to improve on that?
60,000 plus, well outside commercial air traffic concerns. These three were right on the border of it. So there was a legitimate concern there. Chinese spy balloon, we knew exactly what that thing was. And we knew what it was trying to do. And we saw it, Jackie, as it...
He looks like the bad guy from a Macaulay Culkin movie. That's so specific. I love it. And it's true.
These other three, they didn't have propulsion. They weren't being maneuvered. It was basically they were being driven by the wind. We don't know for sure whether they had a surveillance aspect to them, but we can't rule it out. So there was enough uncertainty there that, again, out of an abundance of caution, doing the prudent thing, the president directed that they get taken down. And I get where you're going.
See, now they just have to shoot everything. Now they've committed.
We're gonna dive
this
into
is the problem. It's not aliens. This is the problem, is that the U.S. government is now committed to just shooting everything and everything down. Any balloon, drone, any fucking random university science project or whatever.
You got to do the right thing for the American people, for our safety and security.
Now they've just committed. Now they've committed to it. They could never hold back from that now.
I can't say whether that's strange or not, since we're sort of in uncharted territory here, no pun intended. But we don't know.
They're surveilling the weather.
Go ahead. I'm basically done. I'm basically done.
Sir, what's your name, sir? Oh, from CBS. Okay. Has the payload been recovered from South Carolina yet?
The
large so-called payload that's...
Yeah, as I said,
I'm sitting in the back of my truck, looking at the sky.
Like the next day, actually that afternoon.
Couldn't believe what I was seeing. A Chinese spy balloon float by.
They have been able to recover some, not all, of the payload that sank to the bottom of the Atlantic. It's in about 45 feet of water. Weather conditions are pretty tough off the coast right now. Like today, for instance, they have not been.
The Chinese spy balloon floated over yonder that hill.
Some of the electronics and some of the
put me in a patriotic fervor. Made me want to kill.
I wish if I could tell you that, I'd be a very wealthy man. It could take a long time, given the sea state and weather conditions and the degree to which we protect the safety of the divers.
I'm sorry. I'm getting a little too into this. Getting a little too into this idea.
Of these latest objects. Last week we were told several
I would love a tanky country singer. I'd love to see some more. Yeah, I mean, go back to the roots of country music, like hating cops and supporting the unions.
Sitting in the back of my truck looking at the sky, couldn't believe what I saw. Rob as a great guy.
Regarding all of these sensitive sites.
If you're
proactively.
Thank you, Nyan Cat, for the 8 months of Tier 1. Very nice twist on the lyrics there. Thank you. I appreciate that.
There's some sort of blanket.
Thank you.
Now, security policy for every base on the continental United States, the answer is no. We do have protocols, particularly when...
I'm starting to sing more on the show. Have you noticed that? I don't know what that's about.
Surveillance is going to occur, like in...
I don't know if that's good or if that's a bad sign.
For instance, when all that's scheduled and laid out, and when you know that there's going to be an open skies flight by Russia, you take the appropriate actions. And that's what we did in the case of the Chinese spy balloon.
And they're still calling it a spy balloon. That's so funny.
What precautions we're going to make at any given base at any given time, but we always do what we need to do to protect our nation's secrets. I won't talk about it any more than that.
Okay, we have to move on. Way in the back. Way in the back.
Thank you very much.
No.
TRRS?
Right there.
Okay.
Admiral, you started the briefing by talking about the president's involvement in this. The report from ODNI recently that goes over this. In that ODNI report about unidentified aerial phenomena, it says there were
some Twitch channels have karaoke for redemption points.
Aerial phenomenon reports since March of 2021, some of which have, quote, demonstrated unusual flight characteristics or performance capabilities. So can you say why the president just recently, within the last couple of weeks, started ordering some of these objects to be shot down, and why there weren't any orders throughout 2021 or throughout 2022?
It's very simple. It comes down to what sort of safety and security threats and risks we're talking about, and also.
I just want to open Fruity Loops and do the balloon song now. I'm not going to do that though.
To track, detect, and engage. Having come from the Pentagon,
I just tuned in, but I believe that the man speaking is being controlled by Grace. So G Cluppy believes on this.
While we may not be able to know
G Cluppy's a believer.
Everyone is doing. Some of the
like we were saying, G Cluppy, before you got here, like I don't think that there is aliens. Not in this case, anyways. Like the aliens that are here are already here. You know, that's what I believe. This guy could very well be an alien. I don't think this whole like we're shooting down the UFOs, closing the airspace thing, that's aliens. But this guy does look like a government PR person in the opening 5 minutes of an alien invasion movie. I mean, that is true. That is true.
He had time to detect, time to analyze, time to engage, time to make those.
Curious, these UFOs all appear right around Seymour Hersh blowing their shit up. Yeah, or like the war not going well, the chemical spill. There's a million things that they would like people to not focus on. The degrading quality of their lives, the fact that the American dream is fucking broken, cities filled with unhoused people, and people dying in the street, armed agents of the states massacring civilians.
Might need to make. I mean, look, just by adapting
world's
the way
most
parameters are set,
horrific prison system.
We have improved our ability to detect. And again, I said that could be
the government spending $800 billion a year on defense and just letting everyone else fight to the death for the scraps.
Frozen waters or in remote areas, and these are also not huge objects, and they were shot down by missiles. So how optimistic?
Old Dutch, check this out.
You will be able to collect enough debris to really get an idea of what these objects were.
We won't know until we get on site to see, how much damage was done, not just by the missile strike, but by the fall from.
Oh, that's great, Lana.
Very
happy to hear that.
Altitude, and as you said, in one case on sea ice. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, thank you, John. Does Secretary of State Blinken plan to meet with his Chinese counterpart this week at the Munich Security Conference?
I'd refer you to the State Department for the Secretary's schedule. I don't have visibility on that.
Okay, and have you been able to learn more, or not you, but the government, since these objects were shot down? I mean, you just alluded to the fact that you've not been able to get on site yet. I mean, has there been any additional information since one was shot down Friday and then over the weekend?
Because these are just happened over the last few days and we haven't found the debris, there's still a lot more we expect to be able to learn. And I think once we can get to the debris, and I'm not...
Oh,
forecasting
on
how
audio.
easy that's going to
I was
be.
showing off the
They
shirt and
all
you're
three
not
have fallen,
even watching.
into some pretty remote,
How foolish of me.
difficult areas to reach. But we're going to do everything we can to find them, and that will tell us a lot. Since I know you didn't ask about this, but in the case of the Chinese spy balloon, we have been able to recover some debris and some of the electronics and even some of the structure from the bottom of the Atlantic.
Where we can determine that it was just a fucking weather balloon all along. But of course, we still must refer to it as the Chinese spy balloon. Forever now.
Chinese spy balloons have been flying over U.S. military.
When do you think that you'll have all the debris, or as much debris as you can get from all the sites?
I'm sorry, when do we think
when do you think you'll be satisfied that you've gotten as much debris as you can from all the sites?
I wish I could give you a date certain on the calendar. I can't do that. We're working to surveil them right now. In fact, there's a Navy P-3 that's flying over the site in Alaska. The Canadians are in charge, obviously, of the one in the Yukon, and now the Coast Guard is in Lake Huron working with the Canadian Coast Guard to do the same thing there. So we're working this as hard as we can, and we will keep you informed as we learn more. As I'm telling today, divers in the water over the weekend. We have recovered debris off the coast.
It's true they're going to use this to try and justify the F-35 jet deal. I would say absolutely, yeah. There's already talk. Just the U.S. is shooting down these objects, and that just shows how unprepared we are. We're just woefully unprepared for our air defense.
We're running out of time, guys. Beijing's response, they've been very harsh. They said the first balloon was an accident, and the last 3 objects were not theirs. How do you respond to that? Has the White House had conversations with Beijing about this, and can you share a little bit about that?
We know the first one was Chinese. They admitted it. They claimed it was a weather balloon. We know it's not. These 3, we don't have attribution.
How do you don't know? You don't know shit, sir.
So
we know it's not.
Anybody's word at face value here until we can get a chance to take a look at them.
But we should be clear about that, though, right? So that's the U.S. government just like accusing the Chinese of lying. They're just like accusing the Chinese of lying about that, right? Like that's the official stance of the U.S. government was that the Chinese government, they acknowledged that the balloon was theirs. They say it's a weather balloon. We know it's not, he says. So they're just fucking lying, I guess. Like that's a serious claim. That's a pretty serious claim.
I have no calls or conversations to read out.
Which they would not tolerate other countries making about them, certainly.
Some of the moves here with respect to settlements.
The Moldovan president just recently has said that there was a Russian plot to sort of overthrow her government and break Moldova's path to...
This happened because the China balloon entered our airspace without being blown up. We had to blow something up to look big and tough. Well, this is what I've been saying. It's like, it's not aliens. It's the fact that the government now is committed to just shooting down any fucking object, whether it's a balloon, a drone, a random science experiment, whatever. They've just committed to doing that now, and if they don't do it, now they look weak, so they've got to look like big, tough guys, tough hombres. So they've got to now just shoot down every single object that they ever see. Large birds.
What I'll say about that is deeply concerning reports.
It'd kind of be like if America lied about who destroyed the Nord Stream pipeline. Absolutely. We all know that they never lie.
And we absolutely stand with...
Yeah, those Chinese are tricky. Like, that's what it is. It's a fucking...
The Moldovan people.
You have no confirmation from the U.S. side.
It's so brazen.
I know no independent confirmation, but we're
very stupid place, Lana.
Questioning the
very
capacity,
stupid place.
The will.
Canada also very stupid. Agreed.
Of the Russians and Mr. Putin to try to do that.
It's just we all live in America. You know, all other countries are fake. We all live in America. We're again, like I've been saying, we're the junior partners. We're the annoying little brother. It's all America, though. America is just the epicenter of America.
We have not.
Okay, but we have to get to everyone. Okay, you already had a question. Go ahead. All 3 shoot downs in the U.S. occurred offshore, but the one in Canada occurred over land. So is it effective U.S. policy to not?
We're diet America. It's pathetic.
I wouldn't read into this some kind of policy decision. We will always, in deciding whether something should be taken down or not, consider the impact on the ground.
When the Chinese balloon came down, the Chinese Foreign Ministry indicated that they would respond in a way that they were...
I hope they send another balloon.
That the other objects are also Chinese in origin. Is there a menu of options prepared to the president for how we would react?
Canada's sovereign. Canada's a big, strong boy. We're all very sovereign. Canada, Australia, France, Germany, Ukraine, Taiwan. We're all just sovereign little independent democracies. aren't
opiate
we?
cases in the U.S. trying to steal U.S. technology from universities. President Xi is going to be meeting with the Iranian president. At what point do you
They should shoot down the invisible toxic chemical cloud. Maybe they should spend a little bit more of those resources on that. Yeah.
from President Xi?
Japan also
Yeah, I don't
very
have a
sovereign.
call to
Absolutely.
talk about today.
South
Let me
Korea.
again, level set here, and I know I'm running close on time, but sorry.
No, it's not your fault.
But the president met with President Xi at Bali at the G20. The whole purpose of that discussion was to move this relationship forward in a better way. Most consequential bilateral relationship in the world. The president knows that.
And who's been the one? Who's been the fucking belligerent pricks at every step of the way, antagonizing them, accusing them of genocide,
to have those kinds of
breaking the one China policy with Nancy Pelosi, who Biden obviously knew about that. Now you're accusing them of espionage. You're militarily encircling them, of course, also.
And then the Chinese decided to fly a surveillance balloon over the continental United States.
These fucking liars, man. Liars.
When are those discussions going to get back on?
Why are they provoking us so much? Why are they being so hostile? We're just trying to talk. We're just trying to make our bilateral relations go back to normal.
It doesn't mean, and people shouldn't take away from
They're being so aggressive and hostile towards us.
Severed between the United States and China, that Beijing and Washington aren't talking. We still have an embassy there. We still have an ability through Secretary Blinken's good offices.
Yeah,
to
cry
communicate with
bullies, for
senior,
sure.
Chinese leaders. Unfortunately,
That's the American way.
Chinese military is not interested in talking to Secretary.
We're just pumping billions of dollars into
There are still
Taiwan.
ways to communicate, and the president would tell you that.
And
now
they
is
have
exactly
they're
the time
upset by
to at least
this.
preserve some of those
They're
lines
so
of
angry and aggressive because
communication
we just keep pumping billions of dollars into weapons into Taiwan and then visiting Taiwan specifically when they tell us that it's going to be a provocation.
Right, last question in the back, and that's going to be the last question for the briefing. No, sir. No, sir. No, right here.
James,
Go ahead.
okay. Me? Oh, thank you. Last Friday, you answered my question about President Biden's message during his trip to Poland. But I'm wondering why he specifically chosen Poland for this trip, since so many countries are helping Ukraine, and he visited Poland 11 months ago.
The president's really looking forward to this trip. Certainly not lost, I'm sure, on any of you that it's timed around what sadly is going to be a year of war in Ukraine. Poland has been...
You can count on me. Which we also had nothing to do with. To talk you through all this.
Tremendous supporter.
Thank you, Comrade Social Distancing, for the gifted sub.
And a generous host, not only to...
Yeah, sadly,
American
we hate
troops,
that there's this
but
proxy war
millions
going on.
of Ukrainian
We had nothing to do with it.
who have fled there in safety.
Again, and you can classify Russia as being aggressive with the invasion, but like...
They're punching well above their weight, and we very much appreciate all the support.
I don't know how America would act if, just like Taiwan, they've been pumping billions of dollars into Ukraine for the last 10 years as well. And it's not, as I talked about a year ago, as I've been talking about all through the last year or right now, it's not really surprising that Russia views that as being threatening. America would react the same way. Obviously, you can just look at the Cuban Missile Crisis. But how America would react if one of its enemies was parking missiles in a country right on their border, even when the country wants them to do it. They actually weren't really too fond of that. And America thinks it can just pump billions and billions of dollars worth of weapons into Ukraine for the last 10 years, arming and training and funding these proxies. Many of them, I would say the majority of them, these far-right extremists, these Banderites, to fight a proxy war for the last 10 years. And then when Russia responds to that, and you can say, oh, the response was too far, it was too violent, it's an escalation, like, sure. But when Russia inevitably responds to these provocations, America says, oh, why are they're so aggressive? These aggressive, barbaric Russians,
Officials to have constricted his decision-making circle during the pandemic.
It looks like I want to do Putler appeasement. Oh my. The unprovoked invasion, that's right. The unprovoked invasion.
What do we observe about President Putin's decision-making now, the caliber of his decision-making, and also his grip on power in his own country? Has any of that changed over the course of the year?
I can't speak to the way Mr. Putin gets advised and how he, who's advising him and what they're saying. I couldn't begin to get inside Kremlin decision-making processes. Clearly, Mr. Putin is not making good decisions. Shouldn't have invaded in the first place. This is a country that posed no threat to anybody, let alone Russia.
It's no threat. It's no threat just because we want to put nukes there and pumping billions of dollars of weapons to fund a proxy war there. It's no threat.
A year ago, logistics, sustainment, integration of joint fires, manpower, personnel.
Putin called their bluff and they're mad. I mean,
I could go on and on. The Russian
you don't have to like it. You really don't have to like it, but
and it's borne out by
you should acknowledge at least the reality of it, as I've been saying.
The way I change socks. So, I mean, he's still struggling.
Sorry, guys, we have to end the briefing. I got to go into the Oval, but I will see you tomorrow. And thank you for the compliment on the smile. I appreciate that. But I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.
So it's not aliens, right? It's not aliens. It is a pathetic farce. It certainly is. Does Biden really think the Ukraine war is going to win him the election, or is he going to forget about them once the campaign starts? I actually don't think so, because I think the war is pretty unpopular. I think it's like they've almost avoided talking about it too much now because it's actually quite popular with Americans, quite unpopular with Americans. And like I've been saying, they've been allowing these like right wingers like Tucker Carlson, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, these like LaRoucheite weirdos. They're allowing these people to go out there and make very understandable and like reasonable arguments about this war in Ukraine that are going to, whether you watching at home right now agree with it or not, are going to resonate with a lot of people whose lives have just been getting worse when you see this endless supply of arms going to this other country that you have nothing to do with, and it's impossible for you to find housing. It's impossible for you to get a decent job, despite the Biden administration bragging about the big jobs report and stuff. All the benefits have been cut. You know, people were on that child tax credit. They were on those COVID unemployment benefits. It was life-changing for people. You get kicked off that. You get forced to go back into some shitty minimum wage job or the gig economy. You have the U.S. government just spending billions and billions. They already have an $800 billion defense budget annually. It's not like the arms are coming out of that, right? The arms going to Ukraine are not coming out of that $800 billion. Of course, we need to carve out a couple more $100 billion on top of that. And yeah, I think that's a compelling argument for people. When people like these like extreme right people like Tucker Carlson or whoever going out and making that argument. And Democrats and neocons and even our anarchist and social democrat and progressive friends have completely abdicated all responsibility to criticize this. And they've entirely left that anti-war argument to the right wing or to these like LaRoucheite cultists. And there's obviously a few anti-war voices that are doing good work as well. But those are the people with platforms making these arguments. You know, it's such a huge, huge error. So no, I don't think Biden thinks they're going to win an election on this. I think they actually, even though it suits the goals of the sort of security state of the arms manufacturing industry, I don't think it's very good for the Biden administration. I don't think if this is still going on when the election happens, that's going to be, especially if it's someone like Trump, Trump's going to go out there and say all this shit about Ukraine and how we shouldn't have been doing it in the first place and all the money that's gone into Ukraine and pointing out all the fascists that are getting the money. He's going to be saying, Joe Biden calls me a fascist. They call me a fascist on MSNBC, but Joe Biden's sending billions of dollars, folks, to these Nazi gangs. Thugs in Ukraine, and he's not going to be lying. He's going to be being 100% honest. That's going to be really compelling for people. But Rob, did you not notice how historic it was that the Super Bowl flyover was conducted by an all-female Navy aviation team? That is wonderful. That's true. That is good. That is interesting that it's the Republicans being anti-war. And again, I'm not trying to give them too much credit. I don't like these people. I don't like these like, I don't think they're genuinely anti-war people. A lot of folks like Tucker Carlson, I think, or what I think is want, instead of like the liberals and like the neocons wanting to take on Russia and China at the same time, which is a fight that America is just going to lose. I think these more libertarian conservatives and these LaRoucheites, well, more in the conservative element, the Tucker Carlsons of the world, they want to recreate the Sino-Soviet split. They want to pivot towards China. They don't want to take on Russia and China at the same time. They want to split Russia and China apart and then encircle China even further. That's what I mean. I don't want to give these people credit just because they happen to say things that I sometimes agree with when it comes to the war in Ukraine or foreign policy or anything like this. That's going to suck because then you'll get called a Putinist and a Trumpist for telling the truth about the war. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. You know, so it's just, it's frustrating to see like so many people sort of falling for that. We're the real anti-imperialists. We oppose war with Russia and China. That's right. That's right, Amanda. Yeah, that we can't give these people too much credit. And Amanda, thank you so much again for coming on the show on Friday. It was really wonderful to have you. It was so cool. Radio Free Amanda, everyone. I actually have that queued up on YouTube. I just need to make a thumbnail for it, and I'm going to put that that interview on YouTube. I'll try to get that published tonight for people to watch. Radio Free Amanda's appearance on this program from Friday. What a total fucking, I think, failure. I saw there was two people, there was two like UK socialists. Who were off doing this. That I noticed this weekend. First, you got this clip with John McDonnell. John McDonnell's great. But looks like he is also lining up with the establishment on this. Corbyn's been strangely silent on it. Corbyn's been weirdly. I think Russia-Ukraine is an issue where Corbyn is not wanting to talk about his real feelings on it because he knows how mad it's going to make people.
I've supported the supply of weapons in a defensive mode that the Ukraine is in. I can't see any other path to peace now until the Ukrainian borders are secure. So that does mean supporting the Ukrainians in this fight. I'm anxious that whatever we supply at the moment is more defensive so that we can protect people as much as we can, and that we do nothing that can escalate things more, because the more weapons you supply, the more risk there is of escalation. But I cannot see any other way to peace unless the Ukrainians secure their borders.
According to one of like the most progressive left-wing members of the Labour Party who I loved Corbyn. McDonnell stuck by him through all that massive shitstorm, the Corbyn shitstorm. John McDonnell, someone with I think a lot of like really great values, but I see no way to peace other than to just continue the endless arms supply. Zero separation with Boris Johnson, with the most vile reactionary elites in British society. Zero separation. Really fucking unfortunate.
They actually fend off these attacks from the Russians at the moment.
Corbyn said he wants peace through negotiation.
That's why I've been trying to say
typical
what we should be doing
Putinist.
is much more by way of enabling the Ukrainians to strike down the missiles that are raining upon their heads at the moment. And in that way, we might be able to move forward and speedily.
So you have John McDonnell, like, saying this on the media, and then you have, someone saying it's nauseating to watch left Labour MPs line up with the more warmongering Tories, which is unequivocally true. And you have Owen Jones here.
Accurate? Thank you for the question. In my role, I was not responsible for receiving any sort of request from the government. However, what I was privy to was my supervisors letting us know that we had received.
Sorry. We got sorry about that. We got some Twitter testimony going on, another window there. And then we got Owen Jones saying, Ukraine is fighting a just defensive war of liberation against a murderous invasion launched by a kleptocratic, chauvinist, far-right autocracy. I mean, you can describe Russia as a kleptocratic, chauvinist, far-right autocracy, but pretending that Ukraine is not the exact same thing is just laughable. A just defensive war of liberation. Framing Ukraine as being this beautiful island of democracy, defending its noble ideas and traditions from this kleptocratic, chauvinist, far-right autocracy is just such fucking nonsense. And again, like I was saying before, ignores the entire context of the last 10 years that led to the invasion happening in the first place, ignores the role that the United States military and intelligence communities and establishments, and along with the Canadians and the British, stoked these flames, like at least for the last 10 years, but pushing even further back the last several decades in Ukraine. And like we were saying, like during our talk with Radio Free Amanda from Friday, talking about Ukraine, like this war is about preventing Ukraine from losing its status as being this like autonomous, democratic bastion of freedom, which it was not prior to this, and it will certainly not be if they were able to like repel this invasion through these endless arms transfers like Owen Jones is like advocating for here. Like as we outlined, Amanda and I in that talk on Friday, places like Ukraine or Taiwan, they're not going to be free, autonomous islands of democracy and these beautiful Western values and traditions. They're simply going to be NATO proxy states, Western proxy states. And talk about a kleptocracy, this process has already started where all the kind of like labor protections, everything's being stripped away to allow for further capital penetration from these Western multinational corporations to completely exploit this country. Talk about autocracy. There's nothing left-wing about allowing nations to be conquered and subjugated by oppressors. And here's what I would say as well. There's nothing left-wing about standing alongside NATO. Why is that controversial? This is what I've never understood for the last year. There's nothing left-wing about standing up alongside fucking NATO, ignoring the role NATO and America and the Western countries played in provoking this conflict, ignoring the whole NATO expansion right up to Russia's border that provoked this conflict, ignoring all that context, and standing alongside not only NATO, but the Boris Johnsons of the world, Boris Johnson, Biden, Trudeau, the CIA, every Western intelligence three-letter agency, all the weapons manufacturers, proudly standing alongside them. There's nothing left-wing about that. There's nothing socialist about that. Like, this language is just unbelievable from Owen Jones. And Owen Jones is someone that sometimes, again, like John McDonnell, I think has like very good values on certain things. He was a little squishy during the Corbyn era, and I think was very squishy when it came to these very bad faith, cynical attacks about anti-Semitism against Corbyn. I think Owen Jones, whilst trying to support Corbyn, also gave credence to a lot of those claims and like suggested that there was merit to them, which we know now, if we didn't know then, which you should have known then, was a complete bullshit from moment one. Owen Jones, who stands up, I think, really for trans people in a place where trans people are constantly under attack, who has a lot of positive values and is able to articulate them. But again, this is the Trotskyist problem, right? This is what you don't. This is why our media establishment in Canada and the America and the UK, our left-wing media establishment is populated with people that hold these kind of squishy views, especially when it comes to foreign policy issues. And this is just, it's just fucking nonsense to describe the war in Ukraine like this, to ignore, the kleptocracy that's been taking place in Ukraine on the part of, these Western countries like the UK, and saying there's nothing left wing about allowing nations to be conquered, which again, the inverse of that is the real left wing, according to Owen Jones, should be standing proudly alongside NATO, MI6, the CIA, the military industrial complex, the arms manufacturers, Ukrainian fascist militias, which Owen Jones and John McConnell are just both, I guess, arguing need to just be supplied an endless amount of arms and training. That's left wing, that's socialist to do that. Come on. That's just sad. Another one I saw was from George Monbiot, another Guardian writer. The Guardian writers have been kind of on one lately in the UK, talking about this subject. Did I... bookmark this? Let me just see. Yeah, look at this. Look at this from George Monbiot. Because, of course, with everything going on in the UK, the most important thing is going after Media Lens, this left-wing media outlet. Media Lens is denying that it made excuses for Putin's imperialist war of aggression. Its first action on the day of the invasion was to retweet the falsehoods being used by the Kremlin to justify its war against Ukraine. And this is what she's talking about. Ukraine's sovereignty ended in 2014 when the US overthrew its democratically elected leader in an illegal coup and installed a puppet government. At least 13,000 people have died in fighting since then in a war fueled by US weapons and neo-Nazi militias. This war did not begin tonight. Which every word of that is factually correct. Every single word of that is factually correct. And again, I want to talk about how you can be left-wing and just completely ignore all this context, or to frame the Euromaidan movement as being this organic democratic movement. Like how much fucking naive do you have to be when you have this like supposedly like grassroots democratic movement? You've got Hillary Clinton and the State Department getting involved with this thing while it's going on, giving cookies to protesters and stuff. You've got the phone call with Victoria Nuland when they're literally like giving a yes or no to who's going to be the next president of the country. You've got 2 years later, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, and Amy Klobuchar showing up in 2016, hanging out with these Azov types, saying explicitly on camera, we're going to take it to the Russians. We're going to take the fight to the Russians even more. We'll give you whatever you need. We'll give you whatever you need. This is all like on video. Like there's all video documentation of this. This isn't some like deranged conspiracy theory. This is all on video. You've got John McCain and Hillary Clinton at the Euromaidan. You've got John McCain and Lindsey Graham and Amy Klobuchar 2 years later telling these Azov guys, we'll give you all the weapons you need. Just fight the Russians. Keep fighting the Russians. And then when you say there was a coup in 2014 and there's been a proxy war going on since 2014, these fucking dickheads, Guardian writer, like left-wing guys who think that they're the real like socialists or left-wingers, go on this crusade to suggest that anyone talking about these obvious facts are like Putinists and just reporting Kremlin propaganda or whatever. I don't consider the likes of Monbiot and Owen Jones as being on the left, not in the way we understand it as Marxist-Leninists. Well, this is the problem. This is the whole Trotskyist thing, right? This is why you have Trotskyists in academia, in your media establishment, in politics, right? And then you can have you have this notion of having a freedom of speech, or we have these left-wing types in there. But when these moments come, these people know which direction to punch in. I feel like the problem, the trot to neocon pipeline. That's as Alex Jones articulated. Hardcore Trotskyites. Sometimes he gets it right, folks. And again, whether it comes to Alex Jones or Tucker Carlson or whoever, I don't agree with these guys, but sometimes when it comes to these things, they say things that are correct. I just wish you could have got them all. Yeah, the unprovoked balloon crimes cannot go unpunished. That's right. The unprovoked balloon attack. I feel like part of the problem with British leftists is that they have this guilt about their own empire, but also have this weird Anglo-Orientalism where they despise and suspect the East, so it all comes out as projection. I think that tracks. I think that absolutely tracks. And you can say that about Canada and the US as well. I mean, look no further than like Canadian leftists accusing China of doing like settler colonialism, or saying we need to decolonize Russia and China, and using this kind of language about that. I mean, there's no greater example of it. And then, of course, when everyone in the comments, like the actual person that did this tweet comes in and says, "Hi, I'm the Kremlin you referred to in this tweet. Can you point out specifically what is false about what I said? Try to avoid the Foreign Office stenography that fills your columns at the pro-war Guardian. Judging from the replies here, your followers see right through it." And he's got no answer to this, right? Just say specifically. You just accused us with this tweet of spouting Kremlin propaganda. So say what specifically do you mean? What specifically is incorrect? Like, as we looked at it, that everything that she said was correct. And he just has nothing. He just has this tweet from Neil Abrams, which in the first 3 words of the tweet references tankies. And yeah, according to the tankies, the 2014 Euromaidan revolution in which Ukrainians rose up and ousted kleptocratic dictator Viktor Yanukovych was a coup by the US acting in cahoots with Ukrainian Nazis. Was it? Short answer, no. Long answer, also no. Let's dig in. I'm not going to read the whole thread by this. But again, you can believe this fucking guy, or you can try and take reality and spin it into any story that you want. What I believe, though, are my own eyes and ears, frankly, when it comes to this. I believe my own eyes and ears when determining whether the Euromaidan was a coup or this beautiful democratic uprising against kleptocracy, or whatever noble rhetoric you want to use to frame it as. Again, you see a kind of revolution, a protest movement happening. When U.S. politicians show up and start clearly supporting one side of the protests, when the Western media starts talking about it, endlessly, breathlessly reporting on it, and taking one side of the protests, when you find calls from the U.S. State Department trying to shepherd the thing in the direction that they want, it's not fucking complicated to understand what's going on here. And as when we talk about endlessly with color revolutions, when we talk about color revolutions, we don't mean that every single person that's out there protesting is a paid actor or is being handed sacks of cash from the CIA. We don't believe that. A lot of the time, these kind of movements, whether it's in Ukraine, whether it's in Hong Kong, whether it's in Venezuela, Cuba, a lot of these times these protests start for totally legitimate reasons. A lot of the time these reasons are caused by Western imperialism, but people are genuinely protesting. They're genuinely trying to make their voices heard for whatever reason. And then it's not that every single person is some kind of in some nefarious actor working on behalf of the West, but then you see the West move in through their political and media institutions, the NGO industrial complex, move in and try and shepherd the thing in a direction where they can benefit from it. Or you see these protest movements all of a sudden get way, way more armed and organized, like you saw in Libya or Syria, right? Or Ukraine. So it's not, it's not hard. It's not hard to see what's going on when that's the case. Again, you have John McCain and Hillary Clinton at the Euromaidan. You've got the Victoria Nuland phone call. You've got video 2 years later of John McCain, Lindsey Graham, and Amy Klobuchar hanging out with these militias, being like, we're going to get you all the weapons you want. Just fight the Russians. But then when you say, yeah, the U.S. was involved in installing that government and they've been involved in funding and arming this proxy war there for the last 10 years. And people are like, what is this tanky Kremlin conspiracy theory? Like, give me a fucking break. It's not, you genuinely do not have to be some kind of anti-imperialist or Marxist-Leninist in order to figure out what's going on there. You just have to have a basic grasp of how U.S. foreign policy has operated for the last several decades. There's plenty of research that's been done out there that you can look at to pay attention to this stuff. And when you see the exact same storyline playing out time and time again, it doesn't make you a tanky or whatever, even though I am and this community is. You don't have to be, though, to recognize this basic pattern or to understand the reality of what's going on. Like, how fucking naive do you have to be? So again, George Monbiot, when he's making these claims about publishing Kremlin propaganda, has no answer to it. And he's just like sharing this thread from Neil Abrams. Who studies corruption, democracy, the rule of law, Eastern Europe, and Ukraine with the Washington Post, Slate, foreign policy guy, PhD in political science. These guys have the answers. Don't worry, it's not a coup. Believe me, this political science PhD has the answer that you want to take a look at. I feel like it's poetic that the Nazi symbol of our era with climate change bearing down isn't the swastika but the Sonnenrad, the black sun. The thing that's on every Nazi uniform that the media is telling us doesn't mean anything nefarious. And every time they try to show images to shore up support for this conflict, you see one of these things. Literally, like, every time. Where's the graph to show the level of coup? Well, that's right. The Foreign Policy Analysis Institute shows this graph and shows that the level of democracy before the Euromaidan was here, and then afterwards it was up there. So the Foreign Policy Research Institute, funded by the U.S. government and the arms manufacturers, was very clear about this. You know, it's another thing that occurred to me, like partially when we were on the day on Friday before the conversation with Amanda, when we were looking at the China bad think tanks and how they're all funded by the U.S. government and the arms manufacturers, whether it was the one we were looking at on Friday or the ASPI, which, as Amanda pointed out, was one of the central sources of all information regarding this Uyghur genocide narrative. Every single article about that referenced research being done by the ASPI as well as Adrian Zenz of the Victims of Communism Foundation. And look, the basic argument that I've been making, you know, even though it makes people very uncomfortable to care, like people make claims about them if they don't care about genocide or they don't care about human rights, but just that these are not legitimate sources. These are not legitimate sources of information about official enemy countries of the West. If your official source of this is coming from the Victims of Communism Foundation or one of these think tanks that's funded by the US government, the Australian government, or the weapons manufacturers, these are not unbiased sources. You know, this is this like laundering of opinion. There's a degree of separation between the state and these think tanks, so then we can just cite these think tanks. But it's the other thing that I was thinking about as well, like, you know, even if your think tank is not, whether it's about Ukraine or Xinjiang or Taiwan or China or like whatever, Hong Kong or whatever, even if your think tank is not directly funded by the US government, what really is, if it's funded by the arms manufacturing industry, where are these arms companies getting all their money from? Where are they getting their money that they can invest in these kinds of think tanks? Well, they're getting their money from the US government. You see, it's like a money laundering process, right? The US government gives money to arms manufacturers. The arms manufacturers takes that money, gives it to think tanks that do research on official enemy countries to promote narratives that they can then put on the corporate media in America. And you see there's this degree of separation with the state where they're like, we have nothing to do with this. We're just going with what our independent media and with what our independent private industry and what these independent private think tanks are doing. right? But you see that all the money is coming from the same place. It's coming from the money printing machine in the basement of the United States government. You know, there's no degree of separation. And now, speaking of that, I mean, there's no degree of separation between the George Monbiot's or Owen Joneses of the world and like Boris Johnson or the CIA or Northrop Grumman or whoever. Yeah, Paul Massaro, totally unhinged NAFO type. Yeah, just showing off his Azov flag now. Like, they don't even care anymore. They don't even care. They know that like they've won the argument. They know that like the people that are making this claim have been totally marginalized from the media and from politics. You can't even get like a fucking progressive congressperson in the squad or whatever to go and make any of these claims. The acceptable number of degrees of separation from actual Nazis is like 0. Yeah, seriously. Sad state of affairs. It's a sad state of affairs. But folks, again, if you're a lurker or a new viewer today and you enjoy this kind of content and you appreciate this kind of perspective on whether it's about Ukraine or China or any other foreign policy issue or any other news story, please subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to TRRS. Get the emotes, join the community. It's going to change your life for the better. It helps keep this content on the air. It helps support the work that I do. It costs $5 or it's totally free of charge if you've got an Amazon Prime account, which you can translate into a free Twitch sub. Emotes like this, that's actually not, I don't know what, I don't recognize that one. I don't think that's one of mine. I haven't seen that. I listened to Cena's interview with Gabriel Rockhill and Zizek.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thanks for the stream, Rob. You're looking very handsome today, less than 3.
Thank you, Retoriku, for the 6 months of Prime. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. Very kind of you. I'm actually wearing a brand new TRRS t-shirt. Which you can purchase by using the !merch command in the chat. I listened to Cena's interview with Gabriel Rockhill and Zizek and then listened to Ben Burgess's defense of Zizek and immediately unfollowed everything Burgess and Burgess related, the compatible left. Yeah, so it's not good. It's not a good state of affairs. It's like, you know, I don't want to speak for anyone. I like to think that Michael Brooks would be a lot more critical of this and would, I think, at the very least, not be willing to just hand wave away the context of it, as some of his colleagues have done and are doing. I'm so butthurt by that Zizek takedown. Zizek sucks. Fucking Jesus. Imagine giving one iota of concern about a Zizek takedown. If you're getting your ideology from Zizek, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? You know? What is your takeaway? What is your takeaway from Zizek's work? Right? That socialism is good, but we should just continue our current system now. And that socialism, when it's been attempted in the past, was bad and wrong and scary. That's your, like, leftism? Actually, Famous Horse has the dirt on that if you want to ask him. I do want to ask him. Ben on Gorbachev. He tried to build a humane socialism on the rotten foundations of authoritarianism. Oh, no. Oh, no. Zizek is anti-communist and took money from the West for anti-communist organizing. Well, it's definitely good that prominent and popular left-wing social media personalities have endlessly promoted him to a whole new generation. Well, Zizek has a picture of Stalin, yet ran as a liberal Democrat or whatever. Well, that's the thing. He kind of like says positive things about Stalin sometimes for like edgy credibility, but yet apparently stands against the entire political project that ever represented. Ben is an entire book about debating. I know he's big in the debate world. Very sad. Very sad. Sad state of affairs. The compatible left. You hate to see it. What else do we have here? You know, I had more. I don't know if that's everything I have for Russia and Ukraine. I wanted to talk about those tweets that I'd seen over the weekend. And again, whenever you folks know that I don't like to beef. I don't want to start a beef with Owen Jones or anyone else. I know Owen Jones is someone that does a lot of commentary that I do agree with and that I support, but I just think this is a big blind spot amongst people leftists that rise to positions of influence in the West seem to all have these extremely reactionary and regressive ideas, and will time and time again, whether it's about Syria as well. Syria is another example where all of these people were in lockstep about supporting the CIA, MI6, the military-industrial complex. All the people that they claimed to be against. Syria was another case where both of these guys it was very important to them that we stand up with these folks. You laugh, but what about the Hegelian dialectic? Oh, God. Oh, I'm sorry, Sam, but I'm nice, though. I try to be nice. You know, we have to criticize the people sometimes, but I do try to be nice about it. Can you teach me about the chemical cloud? I don't know many details. We can transition into that after. We have to do something with the academic Marxist. Yes, we do. Yes, we really do. And let's, talk about Stalinist purges. Ooh, Stalin. Ooh, the thing that scared away all my viewers earlier. But seriously, talk about Stalinist purges. That's the reason that our left is like that in the West, is precisely because we've gone through purges in our unions, in academia, in the media, in entertainment. We went through purges. And the actual Marxists were all purged and were replaced by compatible leftists who might talk a little bit about progressive values or social justice or revolution or whatever, but ultimately won't support counters to Western hegemony, and will throw their bodies on the tracks when they see this global realignment kind of starting to happen. Here it is. You wait until deep into hour 2 and then start the purge talk. This is my mistake. It's my tragic mistake. That was my tragic mistake. Okay, so what else do we have? I did just want to look, because in our alien talk, I kind of didn't organize this very well, but in our alien talk, I did want to look at this clip, just because it is an amazing clip that does kind of look like the opening scene of a alien invasion movie. So let's really quickly want to look at this.
Being so patient. Last week, the U.S. shot down one of these balloons. They called it a Chinese surveillance balloon. China pushed back, saying it was a weather balloon. What is Canada's position?
This is an object. This is a cylindrical object that we shot down today. It appears to be a cylindrical object, and we are working to analyze the debris to identify more specifics about this object. It appears to be smaller in size than the one that the United States shot down off the coast of North Carolina last week. But at this point, that is the information that I can share.
Yeah, my final question to you, thank you for being so patient. Last week, the U.S. shot down one of these balloons. They said they called it a Chinese surveillance balloon. China pushed back, saying it was a weather balloon. What is Canada's position?
This is an object. This is a cylindrical object that we shot down today. It appears to be a cylindrical object, and we are working to analyze the debris to identify more specifics about this object. It appears to be smaller in size than the one that the United States shot down off the coast of North Carolina last week. But at this point, that is the information that I can share.
Yeah.
Again, it's not aliens. Remember, cylindrical objects has to go grab a beer can. It's actually a ice cold, refreshing Diet Coke. But yes, yeah, don't care. Let's actually talk more about the toxic chemical cloud in East Palestine. First of all, we'll backtrack on this, but like, it's really fucking amazing that like we're seeing this, already the impact of this what could end up being a like historic ecological disaster. And what are these like centrist power worshipping bootlicking freaks out there doing? Is downplaying the threat, downplaying the role that the Biden administration and the Obama administration played in allowing this derailment to happen in the first place, and then saying like the air has been extensively tested and deemed safe from toxins. This is what Biden has done, is spending their time doing. And like defending Pete Buttigieg. Defending poor Pete Buttigieg. What is he, just the transportation secretary? What does he have to do with railway lines? Preposterous. And just saying like, oh yeah, they said it's fine. Look, they said it's fine, so Biden protected us. It's totally okay. Like the idea that either the state or private interests might be lying about the extent of the danger being caused by this cloud, this like massive chemical spill, this derailment. The idea that they might be lying or obfuscating is just like completely foreign to them. They extensively tested the air and they deemed it safe from toxins. These are what these absolute freaks are doing. Safe for breathing unless you have human or animal lungs. Yeah, Pete the Rat says it's all peachy keen. But remember, if you criticize him, then you're like homophobic. The town was only exposed to a carcinogenic cloud for a week. There's nothing to worry about. They deemed it safe. Oh, there was that whole interview from the War Nerd with Seymour Hersh that I wanted to take a look at as well. I'm kind of all over the place today. Here's Sirota and the lever on this. Sirota, another guy that sometimes has views that I don't totally agree with, but also does really good investigative journalism about this kind of thing.
We just saw in the middle of the country a giant chemical fireball, 100-foot flames, and very few people asking questions about what led up to this. So there was a derailment in 2012 in New Jersey,
releasing 20,000 gallons of dangerous chemicals and noxious gas into the air.
There's children in the town that are being affected by this.
And there was pressure on regulators to do something about those kinds of trains. And so the Obama administration had a rule proposed to better regulate these trains. The National Transportation Safety Board told the regulatory agency, said, listen, these regulations should broadly cover not just oil, they should cover what's known as Class 2 chemicals. And the chemical industry lobbyists went to work pressuring the regulatory agency to limit the definition of what a high hazard flammable train is.
Jesus Christ. From Wiki article in 2015, Tianjin explosions. On 8th November 2016, various courts in China handed jail sentences to 49 government officials and warehouse executives and staff for their role in circumventing the safety rules that led to the disaster. Yu Weiwei, the chairman of Ruhai Logistics, was sentenced to death with a 2-year reprieve. This is how you do things in a civilized country, in an actual democracy. You know, when there's corruption that leads to ecological disaster and death, there's actually consequences for that. I know it's a crazy notion here. It's a crazy notion here that maybe the public officials and private interests that worked hand in hand to ensure that this disaster could happen and are in the process of covering it up, there's actual consequences for that. I know that's very scary to people in our society, but that's my crazy radical belief that when these kind of massive crimes are committed, that there should be kind of consequences for it. And that would, in fact, you know, discourage similar events from happening in the future.
Limit it in a way that the train in Ohio, that kind of train ended up not being classified as a high hazard flammable train.
The NTSB closely monitoring 4 cars that are filled with vinyl chloride. It has been found to be linked to cancer.
Trains that were subject to this rule were going to be required to use a special kind of new braking system to try to deter or at least reduce the damage from derailments.
ECP delivers the unmatched performance of air brakes with the precision of electronic communications.
Most trains in the country are still using technology from the...
All profits from that company should go to taking care of the people that are now at risk. I read $55 billion. Well, bon, but, you know, the company did just pledge $25,000 to support people. So, you know, it might not be as much as you or I might like, but look, they're putting skin in the game here. They pledged $25,000 whole dollars on this, so let's give them credit.
Civil War era. But the moment the government was considering making it a mandate, the railroad industry's changed its
Civil War era breaks.
cost
President Xi,
concerns
please.
to pressure against that rule.
We want to see federal regulations when they're necessary, not just in reaction to a headline in the Washington Post.
Obama's rule included that measure to in the middle party got about $6 million measure to expand the larger use of those brakes on the nation's rail system. But in that 2016 election year, the Republican Party got about $6 million from the rail industry. And Senate Republicans started beating the drum for Trump to repeal the rule. Donald Trump repealed the brake rule so that the industry does not have to even start to use these kinds of brakes.
The brake rule is the woke mind virus.
Federal Railroad Administration regulators told us that these brakes, which are known as ECP brakes, would have mitigated a disaster like this. And we just learned today, after the publication of our story, federal officials told us that this train did not have those brakes on the train.
And unsaid there, but while Trump may have repealed those regulations, Trump's not actually the president now, though. Who's been the president the last 2 years? They could have simply reinstated those rules anytime over the last 2 years and neglected to do so. I think that we're ignoring this was truly a bipartisan victory. That is true. That is true. We can't let anything take away that. Back in December, a union rail worker, again, there was just a rail strike. If we'll remember that the Joe Biden administration, along with the squad progressives in U.S. Congress, worked to break. They helped break that rail strike. Well, here was a union worker just a few months ago warning about the potential for this exact situation happening.
Rail workers warned us about disaster like this. I heard firsthand months ago about the corporate practice of precision scheduled railroading.
Precision scheduled railroading is shorter staff, longer hours, longer trains, less safety, less maintenance. Do I have all that right?
Oh, you got it all right. I mean,
Pete defenders on Twitter are really scary. Well, it's the same people as the K-Hive. Like, these people are very unpopular. Like, and they can't be real. I'm sure some of them are. But, like, right, some of it is just, like, David Brock troll farm shit, right? Like, it has to be. People that just log in all day and, like, post memes about Pete Buttigieg and defend anyone who's criticizing Pete or Kamala Harris. Right? Like, some of it is personality cults, but there's for sure some bots and trolls on there as well. Like, there must be. And this is a good point. I'm going to watch this video. Thanks for sending this, James. This is another good point that coincides with what we were saying about Ukraine as well, when it comes to the right starting to make these claims.
a lot of the derailments that you're seeing on national TV is one of a few things. It's lack of maintenance on the track, or they've cut the track gangs too short and they can't get out to fix it, or they've cut the carmen's, which is the union that works on the rail cars. So we had one derailment here in Northeast Ohio where a wheel flange was very thin. It picked a switch and derailed the entire train. Luckily, it was full of candle wax and not something highly volatile.
Rail workers tried to strike over this stuff, but were stopped by Congress. A few weeks later,
who controlled Congress at that time?
Several Norfolk Southern cars of toxic, highly volatile chemicals exploded fantastically in the tiny town of East Palestine, Ohio, 20 miles from where I grew up. So I met Clyde in East Palestine to ask him about it.
It looks like a faulty bearing caused a catastrophic.
Shit.
About disaster like this. I heard from where I grew up. So I met Clyde in East Palestine to ask him about it.
It looks like a faulty bearing caused a catastrophic derailment. These railroads are turning profits hand over fist. They've cut their workforce to bare bones, and now they're paying the price for it because the wheels are falling off the train, basically. Carmen were inspecting cars about 3 minutes per car. That's always been the industry standard. Now it's 90 seconds per car.
Is that because of PSR?
Yes, it's a rush job right now. And these guys are under pressure. I mean, they're working men and women, and, you know, if they don't hurry up and get this car done, they're going to be fired.
Great points. So I went to a press conference with Norfolk Southern and Ohio Governor Mike DeWine to ask them about this.
What could precision scheduled railroad have to do with the axle failure that caused the derailment?
I have no idea that it's a mechanical issue. Precision scheduled railroading is a management process.
Not a great answer, and that's probably because Norfolk Southern let a worker take the fall, rather than a single corporate executive showing up in the town that they polluted to be held accountable. You see, Wall Street owns Norfolk Southern. 74% of shares are owned by a who's who of infamous hedge funds. And this is the business model that they demand.
Nationalize the fucking railways.
At any cost. And disaster like this is simply a cost of doing business. They cut everything, make all the money.
It kind of seems like the profit motive just completely decimates and destroys all these industries. It kind of seems like we need to take the fucking profit motive out of the railways, out of housing, out of healthcare, out of arms manufacturing. It's almost like out of telecoms. All these industries should just be nationalized, it kind of feels like sometimes. Yeah, cost cutting is what caused the lac mégantic, for sure. As much as we're told that like only private industry can handle these things and only private industry can do things and is efficient, time and time again, we see the same story taking place.
And pay off disasters in tiny flyover towns from the profit. But instead of answering for any of that, they're betting that the corporate media, under the same pressure for extreme profit as railroads, will only ask questions about how much cancer people will get and not why.
We should do what George Carlin suggested to do with white-collar criminals.
Weenus, thank you very much for the 18 months of Prime. Thank you, Weenus. My sweet Weenus. Thank you. And I agree.
I
don't remember what the exact quote is from Carlin, but I think we should just force them. If the air is so safe, I think they should go huff the fucking chemical cloud air if it's so safe. The executives and shareholders of the rail company. They should have the air piped into their homes and their kids can breathe it. Not that I don't want anything bad to happen to their kids, but that's what they're forcing on this town.
Preventable disaster happened.
Respect them and be understanding when they commit social murder on an unparalleled scale. Well, doing anything about this stuff, I know it's frustrating and it's upsetting, whether you're talking about, factories catching fire. I remember there was workers that died in that tornado incident when they weren't allowed to leave their factory they were in. The social murder that occurs with the housing crisis, this kind of situation, climate change. I know it's horrifying when these incidents happen and the massive human cost that it has. But unfortunately, doing anything about that, taking any of these executives and fucking putting them in jail or worse, or nationalizing these industries and taking away the private property and taking away the profits from these people and these institutions. That would unfortunately be authoritarianism. So can't do it. Can't do it. We either have to give them hugs and smooches, or we can sternly wag our fingers at them. These are our two options in our democratic society for these kind of monsters that commit this kind of mass social murder. They're responsible for these ecological disasters. We can give them hugs and smooches or a stern finger wag. That's all we can do.
Worker take the fall.
Let's look at the actual... this thread is very good about this. Let's look at the actual chemical consequences of this spill. There's another good TikTok about this to watch as well.
Massive train derailed Friday, 20 of them carrying hazardous materials as flames lit up the sky in northeastern Ohio.
The evacuation order is in place for anyone within a mile radius of the crash site.
These aren't storm clouds. This is the fucking shit! The fucking shit they burn off in East Palestine! This is not fucking storm clouds! Look at it!
Yeah, I'm sure this is all fine. They said it was okay, though. They said it was all right now. So we should just believe them. Mass die-offs already starting.
Officials are claiming that the air and water are safe. Residents say they can still smell chlorine. They've complained about their eyes watering when they go outside, and one woman says the noxious air killed her chickens.
Out of nowhere, he just started coughing really hard and just shut down and went very fast.
Look at all these fucking crows. I'm not kidding. This is within 10 miles of East Palestine.
If you have not evacuated, please leave the area.
It's weird that so many people are popping in to deny that this is happening or to repeat PR from the company that did this. This is what I mean. I was talking about that what Biden has accomplished Twitter account. Immediately just coming in there and saying, because it reflects badly on the Biden administration, bending over backwards to make excuses for this and to just repeat what the people that are responsible for it are saying. Yeah, of course they're saying that it's fine now. Of course the government and the people that were responsible for the accident will be like, no, we took care of all that. Not an issue. That's what they do in every single one of these fucking incidents. And people are going to go online in order to defend political figures that they have some kind of fucked up parasocial relationship with. And then they're going to go on and repeat PR for these like unaccountable companies who are responsible for this massive ecological disaster. And be like, no, they said it's okay now. Okay, they said it's okay. Well, must be fine. Like, the pictures are just stunning, though, of this. There's people all over looking at the sky and looking at their pets dying and all the animals around them dying suddenly, while everyone in authority lies and tells them that they're safe. What they're really being told is that they're powerless and that their fate is decided.
As more effects from the East Palestine train derailment come to light, one of the concerns of local residents has been water contamination after dead fish were found in nearby streams.
So Leslie Run comes out of East Palestine, and that goes into Bull Creek, which then goes in the North Fork. And we know for sure that there has been some fish kill in Leslie Run and Bull Creek, and some portions in the North Fork.
We went out to these areas and were able to spot some dead fish in Leslie Run and Bull Creek. At a press conference, officials told us they are monitoring the situation.
We knew at the onset of this incident there was impact to Sulphur Creek and waters of the state of Ohio. Since that point in time, we have been able to successfully control that runoff and contain the water and either treat it in place along with a robust sampling program for the water quality.
Leslie Run, Bull Creek, and North Fork are all part of Little Beaver Creek. Smith says Little Beaver Creek was designated as a state wild and scenic river in 1974. The Division of Wildlife and its partners have worked for years on
They buried the chemicals, some of them, but they're lying even about that. The top priority was getting this covered up as fast as possible because it's so bad it would start a revolt among the peasants. We are gassing over multiple states. Okay, there's this guy. I want to go back to this because this guy is a whole explainer of it. Dioxins are forever chemicals, and a small amount concentrates in higher order animals like people. This chemical catastrophe is absolutely going to drop life expectancy in Ohio and Pennsylvania for generations. And animals carry it away after ingesting it, then they're ingested. Dioxins are the one thing you don't want. It's like nuclear fallout in chemical form. Only radioactive particles can be washed off. Dioxins merge with your fatty tissues and cell membranes and stay in you forever. They're bioaccumulative. An animal you eat has been saving them. Dioxins are worse than nuclear waste because they concentrate over time in biological organisms instead of just dispersing through the environment. We're going to be eating and drinking these chemicals for generations. It's actually going to get worse over time as they concentrate. The reason you burn, bury, and scatter these kinds of spills is because everyone will be retired and their kids out of college before we're allowed to discover and discuss what they've done. It takes a while for the evidence to be undeniable when an entire system is built to deny it. It's melting people's cars far away. There's images of people's cars 70 plus miles southeast of the incident. You see the rain is leaving this like acidic gunk and like melting into the plastic. So we're going to take this, keep that there. Let me go back here and find this guy's explainer video who talks about the chemical aspect of this. I mean, look, this is so fucked up.
Area well and groundwater are safe. However, after
So what was that again?
area well and groundwater are safe. However,
That's a big however. You know? That's a really big however. It's also dioxins that were contained in the Agent Orange defoliating poison the USA dropped in astronomical amounts over Vietnam, which to this day still causes birth defects and cancer in Vietnamese people. Very fucked up. Talking about imperialism or fascism when imperialism practices from overseas come home.
The area well and groundwater are safe. However, after this couple
Doing a
saw
lot of heavy
dead
lifting.
fish in this creek that you're looking at, they're deciding to not take any chances.
There was hundreds.
Russell Murphy is referring to the fish now belly up in Leslie Run. He and his wife noticed them last night, barely 48 hours after the fiery derailment 5 miles away.
This is huge, huge environmental effects.
That's now one of many concerns the EPA now faces.
The impact of the fish, yes, there was a impact of those. However, the levels as we have seen it are protective to groundwater. We are aware there are some wells along that for residential wells.
Environmental cleanup crews were at and actually in that water today. So are these booms, which are used to catch and stop anything that shouldn't be flowing here, or into water wells, which Murphy uses for...
We've closed this fence and used this bungee cord to close it. We believe that this will stop the chemicals from leaving the area.
To water wells, which Murphy uses for just about everything. And
the water is safe, however. And then this is, of course, this is always the very normal thing when they're arresting guys for arresting journalists at the press conference.
I'm a reporter with News Nation. It's all being recorded right now.
I hope it is. This is horrible.
Because you can't talk to people about doing their jobs.
Oh my God, I cannot believe this.
What's that?
This is horrible.
This is what it's like to be a black reporter in 2023.
Evan, I'm so sorry. Evan, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Sia.
Roll over, sir.
Can you please listen to this? Because it hurts.
If this was a horror movie or some biological disaster movie, the next stage is the town getting quarantined.
Evan, I'm sorry.
We should keep an eye out for quarantine towns in the vicinity of this toxic chemical cloud. That's when we know when phase 2 has been beginning.
I got arrested because I was trying to do a live report about what people need to know.
And he's been here all week.
You
can't do this to him. This is wrong. Why are you arresting him?
But remember, America has a free press, not like those scary authoritarian countries, folks. Can you imagine living in one of those scary places?
Count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
With state-run media. Regular Mole Rat Dragon, thank you for the 20 months tier 1. Thank you to Regular Mole Rat Dragon. So here's getting more into like the chemical makeup of this of what has happened here, which provides a lot of interesting context.
This hasn't been getting a lot of coverage, and the coverage that it has been getting hasn't been very good. So let's talk about the trail derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. East Palestine's about an hour north of Pittsburgh, almost halfway to Cleveland. Norfolk Southern has a rail line that goes right through town, and this derailment happened right on the edge outside of town on the border of PA and Ohio. Of the cars that crashed, 5 of them contained vinyl chloride. It's a monomer used to make PVC. The reporting on this has gotten vinyl chloride confused with polyvinyl chloride, the polymer made out of vinyl chloride. Now, the reason that this distinction is really important is vinyl chloride is very hazardous and very flammable. Polyvinyl chloride is a plastic that's...
Yeah, seriously, Cheese. The idea of water shortages mixed with this kind of like pollution.
Fahrenheit, so it's shipped in its liquid form. Meaning that when these trains crashed,
really scary.
They started leaking. They weren't just leaking liquid, but they were spewing boiling gas. So vinyl chloride is really toxic. OSHA has the permissible limit of how much you can be exposed to it during an 8-hour shift as a 1 ppm part per million. Average over 8 hours. So prior to this, the biggest spill of this chemical was in New Jersey, where one train car and about 23,000 gallons of vinyl chloride were spilled, but it didn't catch on fire. Now, this crash in Ohio has 5 train cars. These kinds of tanker cars can carry between 25 and 33,000 gallons. Let's call it 250 to 250,000.
Well, I can buy that. I mean, this is a good point. I remember watching HBO's Chernobyl and realizing we wouldn't even have attempted the cleanup, would have done the same cover-up or worse. Then our response to COVID was exactly that. This is more of the same. I mean, the thing when I was watching Chernobyl, my takeaway was thinking about climate change and how that's been like perpetuated and covered up. It is in a much more drastic ecological disaster that's going to have much more drastic consequences. The cover-up was far more extensive. It makes the climate change cover-up and the way these oil companies covered up the scientific research that they were funding about what our addiction to fossil fuels is going to do to the climate of this planet makes the Chernobyl, what constitutes that cover-up, be like a total fucking perfectly handled situation in comparison. I think it's interesting how we do a million Chernobyls and don't clean them up, and how we make shows about a Soviet disaster, about how terrible it was. Seriously. Yeah, seriously. I remember too, there was so much, even though I kind of enjoyed the show, there was so much anti-communism in it. I remember there was one where like the female scientist was like talking to the like government official trying to get information, and he's just like, oh, I used to like, what did you do? You go to a school? He's like, oh, I used to work at a shoe factory. And now he's like this important person in the local government, and that's shown as being this terrible thing. This fucking factory working ignorant fuck is lecturing our girl boss protagonist, who we actually invented for the purpose of this show. Yeah, no, I know. That's actually quite cool. A government that's actually representative of the people that live in the community. I know, it's very shocking. Anyway, let's continue this.
Pounds of vinyl chloride. That's per train car, 5 train
All
cars.
your rulers should go to the same law schools and Ivy League colleges and be part of all the same weird secret societies in those places. That's called democracy, not authoritarianism.
There's maybe 1 million pounds of this toxic chemical spilling into the ground and also boiling off into the air. But then it caught on fire. I think this is where the reporting is really bad, because no one is mentioning what the byproduct of vinyl chloride burning is. Of the many byproducts of burning vinyl chloride, one of them is hydrogen chloride. Hydrogen chloride is really unstable and latches onto water, like just water vapor in the atmosphere, and that turns into hydrochloric acid. So right now, government officials from the railroad, both the governor of Pennsylvania and Ohio, are calling burning off the 1 million pounds of this stuff a success, but not mentioning that it means that we have hundreds of thousands of pounds of acid in the air, potentially. Now, ever since engineering school, I've studied a lot of industrial accidents. I just find it really fascinating, and organizations like the Chemical Safety Board, NTSB, and OSHA all have like really good reports available to the public. I think as a designer, it's really good to learn about mistakes. When looking at these kinds of industrial disasters across time, there are a couple things that are pretty universal across all of them. One, the responsible party, in this case, Norfolk Southern Railway, always plays down the reality of the situation. Politicians also...
No, they said it was fine, though.
And then news outlets just...
Don't criticize Biden. Don't criticize Buttigieg. They tested the air. They said it was okay. What's the problem? They said it was all right. Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
Hearing is the responsible party's word.
And this guy's another clip here.
In there, but
same guy.
So that's a lot to take in there, but we have to move on, because I think this is the most important thing you need to hear. Areas of containment soil and free liquids were observed and potentially covered and/or filled during reconstruction of the rail line, including portions of the trench/burn pit that was used for the open burn of the vinyl chloride. I think you have to ask a few questions. Number one, why are you learning this from me? Why have they not released water tests since the 4th, but they've released several days of air tests? On the 5th, the EPA said that they were expecting water tests on the 7th or 8th. How much of these chemicals spilled? How much burned? Why was the track rebuilt over buried contaminants?
All good questions. Nick Drum. This guy has done a lot of coverage on this.
Today we got definitive evidence that the fire at the Norfolk Southern rail line in East Palestine, Ohio was a bigger deal than they said. At last Wednesday's press conference with the governor, a reporter asked what chemicals were of concern, and this is what the representative from the railroad said.
Obviously the vinyl chloride that,
Vinyl chloride.
we had to burn, and then a little bit of lube oil,
Non-haz lube oil, a little bit.
The butyl acrylate that is what a lot of what we're gathering.
So today, the 12th, 4 days later, the EPA released the manifest sent to them yesterday from Norfolk Southern Railroad. This document can be downloaded directly from the EPA's website from the link in my bio. I brought up this non-haz lube oil before because just because it's non-hazardous doesn't mean that it's okay to spill it into the ground. So he said a little bit. Well, their train manifests here says they lost almost 2 full loads. These classes of train cars can carry up to 30,000 gallons. I have another video posted right before this that went into more things that were listed on this list but never previously mentioned. So we know that there have been tens of thousands of gallons of petroleum oil spilled. The question is, how much of it burned? We also know that they've been using vac trucks and skimmers to collect more material, but how much have they caught? 1 gallon of petroleum oil can pollute up to 1 million gallons of water. It's going to be really important for us to find out exactly what those petroleum oils were. Because most petroleum oils have additives added to them that modify certain characteristics of the product.
If you're going to use lubes, you definitely do want to use the non-hazardous kind. That's undeniable.
There are tons of different chemicals that are used for this purpose, but some of them are those forever chemicals, PFAS, that you've heard about. They don't break down in nature, and they can be harmful to humans even in very small amounts. They can cause developmental issues, immune issues, cancer. What this document shows us is there's kind of 3 levels to this disaster. There was the initial fire, the intentional fire to prevent the explosion of the vinyl chloride tanks, then an oil spill. Today we got definitive evidence.
Sounds like the liberal woke mind virus, if you ask me. Oh boy. I got anything else on this? My company's working on multiple PFAS class action lawsuits already. Hit me up if you've been poisoned. There we go. Matt's on the case. Something a Leninist political war tool would platform. Yes. Here's the creek.
I hear the train a-comin'. It's rolling around the bend. And I ain't seen the sunshine. I don't know when.
Are you disappointed that the aliens are getting taken down by our puny Earth weapons? I expected them to be more tech advanced. This is what I was saying earlier, Worldly Bong talking about this. This is how we know that it's not aliens, because as we know, aliens are already here. The aliens that come to this planet have technology that's so far above and beyond anything we could possibly understand or fathom. They're not going to be bothered with our pathetic little jets or missiles or any of that stuff. What else do we have here? Enough of the slowed down melancholic versions of classic songs and trailers. It does work when you're talking about these potentially cataclysmic environmental disasters, though. What's this, Dimitri?
So I've spent the last
last couple of days talking to
whatever.
few residents in East Palestine, Ohio, and surrounding communities who are now being affected by a chemical spill as the result of a train derailment. And I've left those conversations overwhelmingly angry. I'm going to give you 4 numbers that I want you to remember because they'll make sense at the end of this video. 3, 5, 10, and 12.7. The first number, 3, is the amount of presidential administrations who, after being lobbied successfully by railroad and chemical companies, failed to impose safety measures on trains that would have prevented what rail workers openly discussed as an inevitable outcome. In 2014, the Obama administration proposed improving safety standards on trains carrying petroleum and other hazardous materials, but after lobbying from the railroad and chemical industries, decided to exempt trains carrying many chemicals and combustible materials, including those involved in the Ohio disaster. Then in 2017, after successful lobbying by the rail industry, the Trump administration rescinded part of that rule geared at making braking systems safer on our nation's rails. Then after...
So Cheese Guevara says, on a bright side, they can't cover it up like they used to. Everyone has a camera with internet in their pocket now. And part of that is true, but like as we're seeing by the people like the What Biden Has Accomplished Twitter account, there are still so many people that will immediately leap to the defense of the state and just immediately start parroting the PR from these private companies. The moment they're like political favorites that they have these weird parasocial relationships with are criticized in any way. And the mainstream media is not talking about it. So like, yeah, it's harder to cover it up, and there's TikTok and ways that we can talk about these things. But if it gets ignored by mainstream media, most people just parrot the lines of like what the company is saying. And if the real health consequences aren't seen for decades later, then that's when it gets discovered, and that's where it's okay to talk about. You know, functionally, the same thing is still going on.
Then after 2 years in office, and what is also likely successful lobbying on behalf of the rail industry, Biden administration officials announced that they had no plans to revive those brake regulations. Had a single one of those administrations not been bought and owned by their corporate donors and prioritizing profits over the well-being of workers and communities, we would not be seeing the crisis that is unfolding in Ohio today. The second number I want to talk about is 12.7. The reason that the rail industry was so active in lobbying against these improved safety standards was in large part because they felt as if it would cut into their corporate profits. And I'm here to say resoundingly that that is bullshit. In 2022, Norfolk Southern, the company whose train derailed in Ohio, saw an increase of $12.7 billion in operating revenues, a record-breaking increase, and an increase of $4.8 billion in income from railway operations. Now, at least one reporter that I found has stated that the cost of improving these braking systems would have been about $3 billion nationwide. And that brings us to our next number, 10. Because Norfolk Southern, you know that company that was so anxious about their profits being shredded after having to invest in better safety standards on their trains? Yeah, they announced $10 billion in stock buybacks on April 1st, 2022. The reality is these are scumbag companies who do not give a fuck. And I know they don't. You know why? Because of our last number, 5. See, Norfolk Southern offered $25,000 to East Palestine, Ohio after the crash as an apology. But the thing is that East Palestine, Ohio is a town of about 5,000 people, right? That means that Norfolk Southern, after a massive chemical spill that forced an evacuation and that still might have adverse health risks for members in that community, is offering each community member about $5. The reality is that the crisis we are seeing unfolding in East Ohio was easily preventable, and the only reason it wasn't was because of money. Corporate interests won, and we all lost, and we should be fucking livid. This shit can't continue. But yeah, have a good day.
We're going to nationalize the old railways, don't we? Remember how mad people got at Corbyn when Corbyn suggested renationalizing British rail? You know, it's fucking nonsense. We got to nationalize all this shit. I guess I didn't get to the balloon video. A pizza party ought to solve this. I do, in fact, have to go fairly soon. I got to go fairly soon, folks. So I got to make one final plea. We're at 16 out of 35 subs. I'm going to make one final plea to try and get the number to go up. Now, if you were around since the beginning of the stream, you'll remember that I was briefly on the front page of Twitch and had several hundred listeners until I showed off my new book on Stalin, the History and Critique of a Black Legend by Domenico Lasordo, which I was very excited to receive in the mail. I'm looking forward to reading it. Again, it's the history and critique. It's not that scary, but immediately, maybe it was just a coincidence. Maybe it was just a coincidence, but was immediately removed from the front page following that. And we've had a pretty high number of viewers today, which I'm very happy about. Very happy to have everyone. But if you do, this is the kind of dumb shit that I do that ensures that I will never rise to the top of the political Twitch streamer world. Even when even though it would be good for me to do this, I can't help myself.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
This is what I end up doing. So again, if you support the community like Lennon Smesh, thank you, Lennon Smesh, for the gifted sub. Happy to have you in the community, Lennon Smesh. If you enjoy the community, if you enjoy watching this program, if you want to support me and the content that I do, please subscribe to the channel, get the emotes, join Twitch's only 2-dimensional triangle-shaped friendship access and trickle-down clout tiered reward system. It's the only system that exists on Twitch like that. Very life-changing. Subscribe, gift subs, move up and down into the base level or the chaos zone or the elite tier of the friendship triangle. Gift 5 or more subs to have a cool different alert and to immediately put you in that elite tier of the friendship triangle system, or gift 10 subs for a very unique and awesome alert featuring Shades Rob, a peripheral character of TRRS. It's also completely free of charge if you subscribe using your Amazon Prime account. Just a few generous chatters. 3 generous chatters, folks, could get us all the way to the sub goal. That's hardly anything. That's hardly anything at all. Thank you, Eigenbat, for the gifted sub as well. Thank you very much to Eigenbat. I still really regret doing this talent thing.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
I got to say.
Comma.
Thank you, Onyx. Thank you, Onyx, for the 9 months of Prime. Bezos bucks. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. Thank you, Onyx. The Bezos bucks come here, and then Bezos takes his cut of 50%.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all
Bezos
this.
takes that 50% cut. The greedy motherfucker. No wonder he's the world's richest man, or close to it. You don't get there by being cheap. You don't get there by being generous. I'll tell you that much. Thank you, Rylan, for the gifted sub as well. I really appreciate that,
use
Rylan.
the computer to mark up the size of the account.
And thank you, Comrade Pesci, for the 500 friend coin. Look at that. Thank you. Very kind of you. Very kind of you. We got a little hype train going now, folks. We got a little hype train going now. Remember, just 3 generous chatters, 3 legends could just step to the plate and get TRRS to that daily sub goal. Think of how cool it would be to be one of those people. If you were smart, Rob, you'd open a trust fund in your kid's name and make them sign up for free subbies. That is smart. Open Amazon Prime accounts for... But then I'd be paying for the Prime, though. That's not a loophole. If I was paying for a bunch of Prime accounts and then subscribing those... That's not going to work. That's not going to work. I got booted out from the friendship triangle. Well, hopefully a generous chatter will take pity on you, Grom.
You've just become an elite member of the friendship triangle.
Thank you to our valued community member, Fart Party 69, for the 5 gifted subs.
Count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you to Fart Party 69, and thank you to Rylan as well for a gifted sub to Grom. Thank you, Rylan. I really appreciate that. You are helping, Fart Party. And look, an elite member of the Friendship Triangle. We all remember that classic night. We all remember the classic night. The Friendship Triangle reunion at the Ryugyong Hotel. We don't need to get into the details of what happened. You know, what happens in Pyongyang stays in Pyongyang. We all remember, though. What a night. What a night it was. What a night it was. We'll never forget it. I mean, I've forgotten some of it. I have forgotten some of it, frankly. A wild time, and we all did as we were told. We respected the local customs and rules that were set for us. We were all very respectful. You know, no one was poking around anywhere they weren't supposed to be. Yes, Mr. Fancy Pants, it's a very good shirt. Brand new shirt, just dropped in the merch store. No one was everyone was getting official posters from the official store where you purchase these things. So one of us did steal some propaganda from the hotel. I wonder what happened to them. Yeah. You threw up in my toilet. We had to carry you back to your room, or have you forgotten? I did apparently forget that. We were all very respectful to our handlers and our hosts. The beautiful Ryugyong Hotel. I totally want to manifest this, and I want to make this real. I want this to be real. It was worth it just for the state-mandated Juche haircut. Absolutely. We should all get the Juche haircut just as a bit. I bought my propaganda poster at the famous English language bookstore like I'm supposed to. There you go. It's not hard, tiniest boop, right? It's not hard just to go through the official channels. I had a friend of mine on my stream a while back that was in the DPRK for 2 weeks. Oh, that's so cool. Rob, shout out to you for always reading the non-triangle friends. Admirable of you. Well, we appreciate even the non-subs, Karen. Even the non-subs. Although maybe, perhaps, while this hype train's going on, some generous member of the community will toss a gifted sub your way. For sure, getting a haircut sucks. I wish it was state mandated. Give me 5 different ones to choose from. Go in every 2 months or something. You know? I don't want to have to think about that stuff. I'm a non-sub and a stay-at-home dad. I would love a gifted sub. We've got two non-subs out there just crying to be part of this community. Crying to feel a little bit less alienation, a little more connection to other people. Like-minded individuals.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you, Iron. That's very kind of you for the gifted sub. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
And
thank you, Pathogen.
You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
And thank you, Pathogen, for the gifted sub as well. Look at that. Very, very kind of you. Both. That's what I'm talking about. That's what this community is all about. We love it. Yeah, sorry. Fuck. I'm a little stressed about the like front page thing. I actually am. I kind of played it off like it didn't bother me. I do hope that they give me another chance on there though. I do hope that they'll give me another look. I had the name wrong. It's actually called Pyongyang Foreign Language Bookshop. I would love to visit the Pyongyang Foreign Language Bookshop someday and purchase official DPRK posters there. Yeah, Iron, earlier I was featured on the front page and had like 600 viewers. And then I don't know if you were around for that. I showed off my new Stalin book that I got. And immediately my viewer numbers just plummeted by like 500. It was not my smartest moment, I think. Like I was saying at the time, I think maybe I could have held off on that just a little bit. I could have held off on that for like an hour to talk about. That was maybe not the best, in terms of like self-promotion, maybe not my best move. Yeah, tomorrow, that's right. That's why, as other streamers have shown the way, next tomorrow I'm going to have to denounce Stalin. Are you ashamed of Stalin? I'm not actually, Grom, but I do think maybe I could have like eased people into it a little bit more. That's all. Maybe I should be a little bit conscious of how alienating that is. Even though, yeah, as I'm wearing like a t-shirt with Juche characteristics, I guess I can't really get away with it too much. Just lean into the social eating. I had it and then I lost it. Yeah, I just followed that North Korean Life TikTok account today, actually. It is really interesting. I love just seeing random footage from DPRK. I find it super fascinating. It does a lot to deprogram you from this idea that it's this evil authoritarian society of brainwashed, starving people. It's amazing how simple that is, right? You just see images of people just going about their lives, and it kind of does a lot to deprogram this basic idea that's been drilled into our heads about this. I heard fat pussy is a Stalinist. Thank you, Karen, for bringing back... we all know the legendary TRRS side character, my boyhood best friend, Fat Pussy. We all remember. It's a central part of TRRS lore.
ჩემი დიდი ბაბუა დახვრიტა ბატონო.
სტალინი დიდი ადამიანი იყო.
ხო.
უბრალოდ არ დახოცამდა შენ ბაბუას.
ნო. ისი იქნებოდა, ხო?
You can't censor me, Twitch. You can't silence me. You can't silence me. I'm going to live my truth. I know how you feel about the self-sabotage, Lodane, and I must say I kind of regretted that one a little bit. That's your 500 page Listerdo summed up. That's right. Now with negative 273 viewers. Well, now I'm in no fear of it, because now I know that, like, you know, I'll probably never be given that prominent feature spot again. So now I just don't even need to worry about it. So now that I've completely blown any possibility of, you know, making a viable career out of being on this platform, now I can just double and triple down on all those things. Now that I've ensured that I'll never be promoted like that again. Back to the CPC funding, please. That's right. They put you on the infamous Stalin guy list. Add Rob's viewers to the victims of communism count. Ugh. Well, I gotta go soon, folks. We are just one generous chatter away from getting to the sub goal, but you know what? If we don't get there today, that's all right. That's all right. It's no sweat. No sweat. Everyone has been very generous. I love everybody that tunes into this program on a daily basis and hangs out in this community. Very, very supportive community. And I love you all very much. Everyone that subsidizes my ability to come on this platform and talk about these things. These sometimes controversial and complex issues.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Oh, thank you, Gen X Bushy, for the 2 gifted subs. Thank you. I really appreciate that, Gen X Bushy. Thank you. Thanks for the stream, Rib. Happy 3-month. Yeah, I'm happy to have you in the community, Len and Smash. 21 to go. Just 21 short months until you too can get the elite exclusive TRRS sub badge. How do we make Rob more rich than Austin Javi in 2023? The thing is, I have no illusions about getting to that level. You know, it would certainly be nice if a bunch of if tens of thousands of Zoomers started listening to the things that I had to say. I wouldn't say no to that, you know. But I don't even want that. If I could get to maybe just the next level from what I am now, that would be kind of nice. Like, that's all I really want, you know. If I could be in that 400 or 500 viewer category, that would be kind of not so bad, right? I don't need to be Mr. Big Shot over here, you know. Maybe a little bit beyond what we're doing now. You know. Okay, I gotta go. But I'll be back tomorrow. Plenty more to talk about. I barely got to anything I wanted to talk about today.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Consider denouncing Hassan.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for the 200 friend coin. Thank you. How much does Hassan talk about Steely Dan, though? I'm willing to bet barely at all. I'm a Zoomer that listens to you. Hell yeah, La Latte. Thank you. We got a couple. Most of the people in this community are depressed geriatric millennials, you know? And we love, obviously, our bitter, cynical, depressed, Stalinist geriatric millennials. We got a couple, though. We got a couple Zoomers. Millennial boomers, that's right. Lana's a young millennial, not me. Not me. I have revolutionary optimism. I guess I do a little bit. I have a little bit of revolutionary optimism about the third world. Relic is a Zoomer Stalinist. There we go. We got a couple. We got like 5 or 6. All right. I don't need that big audience of tens of thousands of them. It's quality over quantity. All right. I got the quality Zoomers. I don't need the quantity. Yeah, really, it's China and Latin America that give me the revolutionary optimism. I don't have much hope for our own culture and our own society. which just seems like we have further decline and probably more open fascism to look forward to. They don't find out you own a secret mansion in LA. I do not own a secret mansion in LA, and I drive a Hyundai Elantra. I drive a sensible Hyundai Elantra, okay? It's like a 2014 Hyundai Elantra. That's my car. That's my whip. There are dozens of us. Dozens! Yeah, my secret mansion is not in LA. That's the thing. Yeah. Optimistic they're going to destroy their hegemony. Not sure about us capitalizing on it. Yeah, no, but from what I've seen from most of other people, they're just going to cling to these same elites that have been screwing them over their whole lives. Continue clinging to and upholding these fucking murderous kleptocrats and oligarchs. You know, one generous chatter could get to the sub goal, folks. One generous chatter could get us there. I'm just saying. Okay, it would be foolish not to. I already shot myself in the foot before on the stream.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you, Bon Bon, for the gifted sub. Thank you. That's very kind of you. I want a North Hyundai, but those are kept secret from us. It's very fancy. It's a very fancy automobile. I'll see you tomorrow, folks. You can just look at the shirt for the last couple seconds. A nice Reliant automobile.